Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. As usual, we've got our normal panel on here. We've got Sam from Life After Life ITC Research, and I always say Sam's name first to get that bloody name out the way. And we've got Julie from Unearthly Wonderings.
Hi, guys.
So we've basically got England, Ireland, and Australia, or as we prefer to call it over here.
Yep.
Right, tonight we are going to be doing pets and animals in general in the paranormal. We'll start off by discussing pets or animals where they are connected to, obviously, supernatural events and things. Then we can go on and discuss various cryptids. Hi, Seago.
Hello.
So, it can also touch on things like what happened at IMSQ, on things on like what goes on at Skinwalker Ranch, all that kind of thing. Hi, Pat. But yeah, we'll start off basically with pets. Now, I don't know what stories you've heard. I'm modest what you've heard, Sam and Julie, but there are actually a lot of pet animals people connected to seeing the ghosts of animals. I myself have experienced it once in my old days, and I actually, believe it or not, was sitting on the toilet and I saw the shadow of a dog actually cast into the toilet where I was, into the bathroom, with its sticky up ears, and I could actually see out to the hallway where the shadow was cast, and there was nothing there. But Jace had actually seen this shadow dog 2 or 3 separate occasions in the old days, and he always described it as a German Shepherd, basically. Well, he called it an Alsatian, and I used to correct him on it because the correct term is German Shepherd. But and Jace had actually seen it 2 or 3 times on the landing, and actually seen it moving, and he always described it as pretty much German Shepherd size with the pricked up ears. My auntie once told me a very interesting story about when her mother was passing away. She was in the process of dying, and while she was on her last hour or so, I think it was, she claimed that a white rabbit jumped over the foot of the bed while she was talking to my auntie, which was quite an interesting one. And she was really upset about this rabbit sort of thing. She was basically trying to get my aunt looking under the bed and everything. She was absolutely convinced, hi Jackie, that this white rabbit had actually jumped over the bed. She then insisted that it was a sign that she was ready to pass away. She viewed it as a psychopomp, and in fact, apparently about 30-35 minutes after she got really upset over this rabbit jumping over a bed, she did in fact pass away. So
wow,
that's quite interesting. Crows are another one that are an interesting aspect. Birds are believed by a few religions, and I believe Hinduism is one of the main ones. They actually believe that birds are what are known as psychopomps, and they conduct the soul to whatever version of heaven people believe in. Crows, particularly the crow family, particularly, so things like ravens, crows, rooks, jackdaws, anything like that. There's a lot of superstition in the UK surrounding crows and viewing them as ill omens and bad lucks, and that is basically based on the psychopomp beliefs, where they believe that they are harbingers of death. The crows. Sam, I believe you've had an experience of a ghostly dog, ain't you, when you were at one of your investigations?
Yes, the story I was given was that this was a black demon dog that roams the grounds. Now, when the word Desmond comes up, I take it with a pinch of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, at the time, I was saying that these people are it can't. It's not a demon. It's not a demon dog,
Mm-hmm.
So we carried on with the investigation anyway, and I'm very skeptical of a lot of things. But we were down in the basement anyway, and we were doing a quiet vigil about 4 of us, and Rachel was knocking on the wall, getting flipping knocks back, which I thought was amazing. Next thing, I brought all the data home, and I was going through it, and actually picked up a bark of a dog, and we picked it up twice. And what I done then was I went around the area a couple of times, spent a while on the side of the road near the house. There is no dog in anywhere near this house. And this recording was in the cellar of this house, a big house on top of a underground cellar. And the family don't have dogs; they have cats. They're cat people.
Yeah.
So that's pretty weird. The story about this dog was actually seen walking through the gate, through a closed gate one night.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got the demon bit from, but when you see an animal with red eyes, it's going to be marked down as a demon. It could have been the energy of a dog previously in the house. Way back in the old days, everybody had dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially big place like that. Big house like that.
Yeah.
Would probably had a dog. But there's a big, a lot of belief in Ireland about these black dogs.
Yeah.
Especially up at the Hellfire Club in Dublin and that, and it was always described as a big black dog.
Yeah. One of the reasons that black dogs have become popular since the 70s, believe it or not, is because of the films The Omen. Because the Devil's Messenger was depicted as a Rottweiler. This is another example of media, swinging public opinion, Hollywood and stuff. Rottweilers ended up with a very bad rap in the 70s and 80s. And that was believe it or not, is where the term devil dog comes from for the Rottweiler breed, was because of what was depicted in The Omen, and people, genuinely believe that Rottweilers, hi Tara, were messengers of the devil, of Satan himself. So that is one of the reasons. We are going to talk a bit later about various cryptids and stuff.
Yeah.
And what you've said about that dog you've just mentioned, there is actually one of the cryptids we're going to discuss is actually described as a black dog with red eyes. So that's quite interesting, the fact you've said that it had red eyes.
Yeah, and then if you go back a little bit further than that, you had the film. Is it a Sherlock Holmes film? Of it was a UK dog. I think it was a Sherlock Holmes type of a film. About
the other one is The End of the Baskervilles, obviously.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to. Yeah,
Yeah.
So that is another thing that these dogs, which are supposedly spirits of some kind, are connected quite a lot to family curses, and that was what The End of the Baskervilles was actually based on.
Yeah,
the Baskerville family, when they, when somebody was due to die, the hound would appear on the moors. Very similar to the Irish belief in banshees.
Yeah,
there's a very similar connection between banshees and spirit dogs in particular. Cujo. That was Steve. That was more babies than paranormal. I miskip.
I'm not quite sure how long the black dog legend goes back. I reckon it probably goes back a couple of 100 years.
The black dog, the various belief in spirit black dogs goes back centuries, absolute centuries. Have you ever encountered anything animal-wise, Julie, spiritual?
No, I was thinking about it that I can recall. I don't think I've ever seen animals in spirit. I've known other people that have seen cats and dogs that have wandered around. An interesting point, though, when you were talking about the crows and blackbirds earlier and being, kind of an omen. I remember my mother-in-law telling me a story about when her husband died.
Yeah.
And she said when he was on his deathbed, like the day that he passed, he kept telling everyone that he was seeing blackbirds.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting.
That,
Yeah.
that you know, birds are strongly connected to psychopomps. They are,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people do believe that they conduct the soul to wherever it's going, be it good or bad, I believe. You know, so there is a massive connection between birds and the paranormal in the terms of death. You know, dying. And whether it's come about because, you know, in battlefields, the first thing to turn up after the battle's over and the bodies are lying on the battlefields is the carrion.
Of
But
course.
you know, part of it could come from that. But you know, this connection between birds and psychopomp type animals goes back through various religions and, you know, in various countries. It's interesting to say, oh, Jace, it's interesting to see that Pat says she's seen both her dogs and cats in her house, around the house, after they
Yeah.
passed away. Now, I know of a number of people who have claimed that. I experienced it once when I lost my old dog, Humphrey, my old Shiba male, and he used to plonk down to sleep and he'd make this really funny off noise. And I was actually sitting on the sofa the one day night reading on my own in the living room, and I heard it literally right next to me, which is what he used to do. He used to lie along the sofa to the point I actually looked over to see if he was all right, and he'd been gone about 6 months at the time.
Wow.
It's amazing how many people do experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My experience in the house will put a little bit of a twist on it. Is on 2 occasions I've heard my dog walk around the kitchen. You know, the pit pass of
Yeah,
the police. Exactly like what my dog would be like.
yeah.
Thing is, my dog's still alive, and on both occasions, she was asleep on the other side of the room.
Hmm.
You know, on both occasions, it shocked me because you know I was sitting here at the computer and I took it for granted that the dog was walking around the kitchen, and I look over and she's asleep on her bed. You know, I'm going flipping out. You know,
Wow.
yeah. So you know, is it possibly a stone tape theory thing going on there? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's happened twice. You know.
Mm.
Jackie just put there, after my dog Digger passed away, I was putting, oh, I'm gonna scroll up. I was putting out the washing on the line and felt him against my legs. That, Jackie, believe it or not, is really common. People actually feeling the pets touch them. A friend of mine claims she used to feel her cat jump on the bed because apparently the cat used to sleep on the bed with her. And she says that numerous times she has actually felt the cat jump on the bed and even felt the weight of the cat on her legs, on her feet, which was apparently what the cat used to love to do. It used to love to lie on her feet and go to sleep. And she says she's also heard it purring in the middle of the night as well on the bed. And she'd got no other cats, you know, after she lost him, she was on her own. And she
Yeah.
said she regularly heard, you know, to the point it was happening 3 or 4 times a week. And the cat would actually jump on the bed and she'd hear him purring and even feed. Because I don't know how many of you have had cats. Cats have this really horrible habit of when they're getting comfortable, they stamp. Be quiet, Coco. They stamp up and down on you, digging the claws in to make themselves.
Yeah.
She even felt all that as well. You
See,
know,
I had a friend, and when she lived at home, she had a black cat, and they had this black cat for its whole life,
yeah.
and it passed away just before she left home. And
Mhm.
then when I knew her, she was already married, had 3 children that were grown to the age of about 10 or 11.
Mhm.
And she used to see the cat in spirit in her own home, even though it died in her parents' home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. You know, there is a big belief that, you know, pets like people, if they're in spirit form, can move to wherever they want.
Yep.
You know, it does. Okay. You going to echo?
Yep. I
Yeah.
am too.
Let me just check something.
I'll check mine too. I'm sure I muted.
Yeah.
I have nothing open, so
It seems to have stopped now. I don't know what was causing that. That was really odd. But yeah, it is amazing how many people actually, report pets coming back. The other thing that is really common as well is a lot of the times people report it when they say when they're feeling in times of stress, or if they're upset about something, this is when they start to see the pets around the house. Now, I don't know whether that's your subconscious, some way trying to comfort you, or whether it is actually, something coming back in visitation to comfort you. But some of the stories where people have actually reported, feeling the cold nose of the dog, or even licking all the weight of the animal on them, I find that, I do find that a little bit difficult to believe that that's your subconscious making it up. Because there's a bit of a difference between, feeling something in a mental sense and then feeling something in a physical sense. Your subconscious would have to be working really good to get you to the point that it was becoming that convincing. Miss Keir says, when we lost our cat Harry, this ginger cat called out to us from the house across the road and spent the whole day with us and snuggled and did cat things. Pete and I thought it was a sign. It could very well be, Miss Keir. It could very well be. Because over here, where pet deaths they're big business now. You can have cremations and have your pets put in urns, and people want to be buried with them and stuff like that. And the Rainbow Bridge mentality is really strong over here as well. I don't know if you have it in Australia, Julie, where they say the pets cross the Rainbow Bridge and wait for you over the other side of it. That's like a metaphor for what goes on. But pets in the paranormal themselves are quite interesting. Like I say, that story my aunt told me. She told me that years and years ago. I was still a kid at the time, and my aunt was very much into the supernatural, and we used to talk about it. And when she was telling me about her mother, and that she said the rabbit literally jumped over the foot of the bed from one side to the other without touching her. And she was lying in a single size bed, so it must have been a bloody big good rabbit. And she said it was pure white, and it literally leapt in an arc over the foot of the bed and landed the other side. To the point the mother was that upset about it, about this rabbit. She got her on her hands and knees, looking under the bed to see if there was a bloody loose rabbit in the house, sort of thing.
That's fascinating, because you often hear about cats and dogs and things, but you never hear stories about rabbits, do you? Or other animals.
She hadn't got a pet rabbit.
Yeah.
She'd got no pets. She just saw this white rabbit jump over the foot of the bed. And she said, it's come for me. She was convinced it was a sign that it had come for her. And then within about half an hour, she'd gone. Passed away.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst experience I've had with animals' death was I worked for a farmer, and one day we had to bring cows to an abattoir, a slaughterhouse basically, and the energy around that slaughterhouse was the worst I've ever experienced. It's just horrendous. I don't know how anybody can actually work in something like that, but it's terrible. The energy is thick like soup. It's just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seago says they're such amazing companions. I've had some very strong connections to cats and dogs. We used to have a cat called Fluffy. We had a kitten called Fluffy, believe it or not, who was incredibly timid, terrified of everyone. But he'd let me pick him up and rub his belly, and he was always super friendly with me. See, this is something else I was discussing with Julie and Sam the other day. Is some people seem to have a natural affinity with animals. My son does. Animals just gravitate to him regardless of who they are. But it does make you wonder in terms of apparitions. Is it something similar that's happening like stone tape theory, or is it something where people claim it's like an attachment type of thing, like with dolls? Is it coming from their side, or is it us actually keeping them here? It's an interesting line of thought to go down. Is what because general scientific consensus is that dogs don't have a conscience like we do, a conscience like we do. They're not really self-aware to the extent we are. But You know, I've often said there's a lot of animals out there that tend to prove that wrong.
Yeah.
What have you put there, Julie? My father had a pet dog. It died a few years back due to old age, but I swear this dog had human eyes. It was like he could sit and stare into your soul. Yeah, there are some dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
That's
just
a
little.
yeah.
Sorry.
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say he's just a little like long-haired chihuahua, but the way he would just sit and stare at you, it's almost like he was having a conversation with you.
Oh, he was a chihuahua. That no, he was basically assessing when was the best time to leap for your throat to tear down.
No, no, don't say that.
So
Way back,
go on, Sam.
sorry. Way back when I was a kid, my grandfather told us a ghost story about two dogs, and
Mhm.
this was this. He didn't say it was in Donegal. He just said it was in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
That it was this man. He lived in this big, huge house, and I must have been about 7 or 8 when he told the story. When the man died, he lived in this big mansion, and the man died, and the two dogs were so broken-hearted that they lay on his grave and starved to death. And to this day, he says that the dogs roam the house. The spurs of the dogs roam the house. Fast forward till I was 17, I was involved with this church group, and for young people, we go away on a weekend or whatever. We arrive at this big house, big mansion of a house anyway.
You
First
dangerous
thing
streets, did you, Sam?
we ended up in the same house, and the first story they told us is about the 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 two dogs haunting the house, and it just happened to be it's that particular house.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people said that they told a story so that we wouldn't wander the grounds at night.
Yeah.
But you know, there's part of the building that they don't use because they said that the dog's been seen a lot in this particular area.
Yeah.
It just happened to be the place where we seen a lot of us, about 10 of us, witnessed a apparition of a young woman crying in the courtyard, and some was could hear it, some was could see it but not hear it, some was could hear it and see it. There was only two of us that actually could hear it and see it.
Yeah.
But we thought it was kind of odd because it was very old-fashioned nightdress, and she was sobbing, and she just disappeared. She just vanished, and that was never in the story, so we don't know what the family history is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just there's been a lot of stories about pets hearts breaking from their owners passing away.
Well, you've got Archie, the Japanese Akita. He's quite
That's
famous.
right.
They made a film about him, and the really famous UK one that even predates Archie is Greyfriars Bobby. You know
Yeah,
they've even got a statue dedicated to Greyfriars Bobby in, I think it's Edinburgh. Is it Greyfriars Cemetery, where his owner was actually buried? You know, and there is actually reports that the spirit of Bobby has actually been seen in Greyfriars graveyard. How
yeah,
true it is, I do not know, but it's just one of them things. Right, that's pretty much the pet side of it covered. Oddly enough, people are starting to talk about what I wanted to cover next, which is spirit animals and totems. A lot of people do believe that they have a spirit animal or that there is some kind of spirit guide um, helping them on their spiritual journey. It is particularly strong in cultures like Native America, and also with shamans and things like that. Personally, I think most people do identify with one particular animal or another, whether it's spiritual or not. I don't know. For me personally, it's wolves. I do seem to have a connection with wolves,
Mm.
but there are certain people out there, and there are certain religions that believe there are people who are capable of actually transforming into certain type of animals, be it skinwalkers, basically. And this is where we come on to Skinwalker Ranch. What is interesting about Skinwalker Ranch is the very name itself is based on the fact that the land that Skinwalker Ranch is on was actually the site of a battle, so to speak, between two rival Native American tribes, and they cursed the land, and it was supposedly stalked by skinwalkers. Now, there are varying beliefs on what skinwalkers actually are. They normally manifest to the majority of people as a little bit like a pan type creature, where they've got a humanoid body. Occasionally, they have cloven feet and goat like legs. But what is interesting about things like the Wendigo is they basically tend to have moose heads or deer heads rather than, wolves. They do tend to be more of a deer type nature and antlered. But yes, Navajo is where the main skinwalker legends come, but they are not the only Native American tribe to believe it. Wendigos are really interesting because they are described pretty much similar in appearance. What differs with them is the actual size. Believe it or not, they have been recorded from about normal human height up to 12 feet tall. People have recorded, have reported Wendigos. Now, a 12-foot animal is bloody big if you think about it.
Yeah.
I highly doubt there's I even doubt even bears would reach to that type of height on the back legs. I wouldn't have thought they possibly could, but I wouldn't have thought so. But what is really interesting about the Wendigos is the fact that 9 times out of 10 they are reported of having this antlers or horns. Now, skinwalkers, there's varying beliefs on them. Some people see them as they are a negative thing. Other people just see them as a mild warning. And then there are other people who believe that they have a positive influence. I do believe that the majority of people see them as something negative. But it's also believed that the Native American shamans could actually take the form of a Wendigo or a skinwalker, so to speak. But they could also, wolves and things were common among the shamans. But the Wendigo themselves were actually normally born pretty much like the pagan Thurnus god,
Yeah.
god of the hunt. It was the Navajo, and I don't know if that's pronounced Ute or Ute. I never know how to pronounce that second one. The Ute tribes. Yeah, that's right, Tara. The Navajo lost the battle and they cursed it to stop the Ute or Ute tribe from possessing it. What is interesting about Skinwalker Ranch is there has been a number of animal type beings connected to it. There are, I believe, about 3 separate type of wolf type creatures that have been reported there. You've got the normal wolf looking animals that vanish, that just fade right out. You've got the really big one that was first reported attacking the cattle on the ranch and was also reported to be pretty much bulletproof. And then you have got what most people nowadays would consider to be a werewolf, that they were more bipedal and human looking, and they were big as well. There is also a ghost of a shaman that appears on the actual site of Skinwalker Ranch as well, and belief at the moment they don't know whether this guy, this Native American who appears, if he's actually connected to the wolves or not. But Skinwalker Ranch has got a massive connection to animals and the supernatural in terms of cryptids. Now, the one I'm going to tell you about now, which I've touched on Sam's stream, we actually have a Skinwalker Ranch, or what people consider the UK Skinwalker Ranch, which is here in East Yorkshire in a place called Flamborough. Now it's in East Yorkshire on the coast, and for the last 50 years, there have been a lot of occurrences going on there, both cryptid related and UFO related. There has been reports of spacecraft flying in and out of the sea. There have been reports of strange lights appearing in the sky. But what is really interesting, just like Skinwalker Ranch in the US, the original reports surrounded livestock mutilation. In this case, it isn't cattle, it's actually sheep. Now, these sheep have been mutilated in various forms. There are some that have been almost look like they've been surgically operated on, and they've had pieces removed, particularly out of the cheeks, the mouth, and the tongues, is one of the common ones. But there are also ones that have actually been mangled and pretty much eaten. There is somebody who used to be on YouTube, and I cannot for the life of me remember what the channel name is, who actually started to do a lot of research into Flamborough and what is going on the peninsula there, because this is still ongoing to this day. Apparently, the farmer who is having all his, there's a few farmers involved, but the main farmer is having his sheep attacked regularly, wants to maintain his anonymity, and he doesn't want people traipsing all over his land. So it has been a very closely guarded secret which farm is the exact farm. Hi, Deborah. That the main stuff is going on. We do know that the farm is literally right on the coast, and that the farm's fields lead right up to the cliff edge to the coast. But that is pretty much all we know. There is a local investigator who has been working closely with the farmer for at least a decade and has been documented all this. But he did do an interview with this guy on the video I watched about it, but they did actually keep the location secret, and the guy was very careful not to give too many details away. What is interesting about Flamborough is the UK military have been involved with it. They actually sent a team of squaddies that were there for the weekend with high-powered rifles and stuff and hunting it. And the reason they are hunting it is because the most famous of the cryptids reported there is quite scary. A number of times there has been spotted an unidentified cryptid in the area, and this is what they believe is actually doing the maulings rather than the actual mutilation type things on the sheep. And one guy was actually walking down a lane the one day near to the farm, and this what he describes as a hyena type creature actually rose up the other side of the fence in the field. What is really scary about it is he said this hyena-like creature was actually the size of a pony. It was huge, and this is when the UK military was actually called in to Flamborough to try and find it. The army took it seriously.
Wow.
These sightings are ongoing to the present day.
Yeah.
If you go on the Flamborough Peninsula, UFO activity is still massive there, as is these sheep mutilations, but they are trying to keep them as quiet as possible because, like I say, the local farmers don't want everybody traipsing over the land and causing disruption, and they don't want the what's it. But what is really interesting is this actual cryptid that was reported, and he said it was hyena-like. It was the size of a pony, and it had got a ruff like an hyena. But it actually rose up the other side of a fence, and this guy was 10 feet from it, apparently. That's how close it was when it rose up, and he said it was pony-sized. It was huge. He says it wasn't an hyena, but it's got the same kind of ruff and look that an hyena would have.
Yeah.
There are a few naval bases in the area and army bases, which is interesting. But it is very interesting that the army got involved and hunted it, and they spent, I believe, on and off, it was about 2 weeks in the area trying to shoot it. There are claims that they did actually shoot and remove two, of whatever it was, but that's never been confirmed.
Two.
Two of them, but the mutilations are still ongoing to today. So whatever the hell it is, there's still more of them there. It could quite very well be miscue because there are military bases in Flamborough and the surrounding area. But the army, the army took these reports seriously. As soon as they were reported, they turned up, and they were there for pretty much 2 weeks on and off, particularly on this farmer's land. And the guy who's working closely with him has actually spoke to some of the squaddies who were there, and they admitted they were there to want whatever it was. So this guy's claim of this huge hyena thing was taken seriously. It's also interesting as well. There is a lot of big cat sightings reported up here in Yorkshire, and there has been big cat reportings, in Flamborough. So are they big cats, or are they whatever this guy saw, just smaller versions, juveniles or babies? We don't know. But the UK Skinwalker Ranch isn't as well known because they have tried to keep it as low as possible. But if you go Googling for it, you will find stuff on the internet. There is info out there. But what is interesting to note is the guy who now I ain't having the tortoise for a few months. Deborah, the bib's on it's due to be delivered Monday, and then I've got to get it all fitted out and stuff. So it'll be a couple of months before the tortoise is here properly. But I forgot my line of thought now. What was I saying?
You were talking about how there was one in the UK as well, like a Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, but it has been kept pretty low key, so it does make you wonder if there's military involvement with what's going on here. But up to this date, nothing is. There are apparently photographs of this thing, usual blurry stuff. But the farmer and the last report I heard was from, I think it was middle of last year. There was still sheep being mutilated and mauled. What is really interesting is they seem to go in a pattern as well. They'll have a couple killed in, say, a month, and then nothing will happen for a month, and then a month later it'll be a couple more. It ain't mass slaughterings. It's one or two sheep in a very small window of time. Then they disappear. They stop happening for a month, and then they start again. The other thing interesting to note is the reports with this trip also seem to occur when the UFO activity peaks in the area. When people start reporting more of the unidentified flying objects, then the sheep mutilations apparently increase at the same time. So there is a theory that this cryptid and these UFOs are some way connected.
So if there's not like a lot of sheep or anything going missing, obviously it must be that they're using them for food and not just killing them for sport or something.
Yeah, they're being partially eaten. But the interview that the guy did actually release with the farmer, he did say that it varies year to year on how bad it is. Some years he's lost 30 sheep, within the year. The thing's taken 30 sheep, and then other years it's been like 6 sheep. But they've always been mauled in a particular way. That is not like a dog would do it or anything else. And apparently the sheep have been examined by a vet, and the vet cannot identify what it is that has actually chewed them up. Sort of thing. It's quite an interesting case, Flamborough. But that is our UK version of Skinwalker Ranch. But again, there is a strong UFO presence in Flamborough.
I wasn't expecting that actually, because I thought you were going to tell me the Yorkshire Moors or something like that.
The Yorkshire Moors is more known for big cats.
Yeah.
In 1978, they passed the Dangerous Animals Act over here, and they know at least 30 big cats were released onto the Yorkshire Moors by various private owners. They know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So we do have our own version of the Beast of Bodmin up here. I think the nearest report to here is about 3 miles away, where the last main sighting of a big cat was. But it's about 3 miles from where I live. Was the last one. But the Flamborough case in East Yorkshire is really interesting. because that links cryptology and ufology together. Rather like Skinwalker Ranch does.
Miss Q asked if we have any skinwalker type of land here. Someone mentioned it the other night. They said either Northern Territory or Western Australia had a kind of skinwalker ranch. I've tried looking into it and so far haven't found anything. So if anyone knows anything, let me know and I'll look into it. Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't tell you about Ireland because this is a new subject for me, to be honest with you, you know.
Me too.
There are, believe it or not, Sam, there are a lot of cryptid reports in Ireland. A lot of them.
Right.
Even ranging to Bigfoot type sightings. There have been quite a few cryptids reported in Ireland.
Oh, we have Bigfoot. We have a lot of Bigfoot. There's a Bigfoot society or organization actually on Facebook. Yeah. And there's been a Bigfoot sighting not far from here, actually. So, you know.
Yeah.
It's one place that we do plan to go to at some stage, you know.
Yeah. See, Jackie says that is strange because hyenas are more a carrion eating animal. They come along and eat other animals. Yep, that's right, Jackie. But the guy said it wasn't an hyena; it was just hyena looking. That was the best way he could describe it because apparently it was a huge dog-like thing with a big ruff on its neck, like hyenas have, and the ridge down. Like they have the ridge down the back.
Yep.
That was how he described it. He didn't say that it was actually an hyena. He said it just looked like an hyena because of the ruff and the spinal ridge of fur. It had got a massive ruff that ran down the length of its back. But he described it as the size of a small pony. So you're looking something that's standing probably 5 feet high, at least. At least. That wolf paranormal I was asking, don't know species. So you've got 2 tortoises, Miss Q, and you don't even know what they are. But yeah, that is quite an interesting case. The next thing we can go on to is what they call the barghast. Now, the barghast is an interesting one because the barghast is considered elemental. Now, what you were saying earlier on, Sam, is really interesting regarding because the barghast is described as a black dog with huge teeth, huge claws, and flaming red eyes. Believe it or not, we have got a famous barghast sighting that occurs here, which is about 9 miles from where I live, at a area called Stocksbridge Bypass. Now, Stocksbridge Bypass is actually famous for something else. It is famous for the appearance of a black monk to 2 South Yorkshire policemen one night, to the point it actually appeared to the side of the car, this black monk, and then seconds later, it blinked out and appeared to the other side. Now, there is also reports of a group of children there who dance around a pylon and sing Ring a Ring of Roses. But the other main phenomena that goes on there is this barghast. There has been this dog reported there that appears every now and again that is black, huge claws, huge teeth, flaming red eyes. What is interesting about the barghast is even though it's dog-like, it has some very strange hunting tactics. Apparently, one of the main beliefs is one of its favourite things to do is either sit in low-hanging branches of trees or to sit on its back legs on fences and jump on people's backs as they walk past and then bite them on the neck. And this is how the barghast works. Now, the barghast apparently can get up on its back legs, but apparently their favourite attack is an ambush method, where they will either sit on a low-lying branch or they will sit on a fence, and as somebody walks past, they will leap onto their back and attack them. So it's quite interesting, Sam, the fact you said that dog had got flaming red eyes, because that is one of the main descriptions of the barghast is the flaming red eyes, and the fact it has got extremely long claws. which it uses to grab onto it. It hangs onto people's backs when it attacks.
Yuck.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stories, but I'm not too familiar with them. I just know that it's common in the Hellfire Club in Dublin. You know.
Yeah. You know, then we've got other things that are animal related in the paranormal. We have got Mothman. Now, Mothman's an interesting one. I can never remember the name of the town it appears in. It's Point Pleasant, is it? Mothman is a famous case going back a number of decades where two couples were actually driving through an area in Point Pleasant, and they reported seeing a huge moth-like, well, man is the best way of describing it, a humanoid figure with huge great moth wings that apparently rose up from a abandoned factory on the side of the road and chased their car for a number of miles, I believe, down the road. Now, they claim this car at one point got up to about 60 miles an hour, and this Mothman thing kept pace with them. Personally, Mothman is one of the things I don't necessarily subscribe to. Personally, for me, I believe he has actually been used as an excuse to bolster the economics of the town, because the town was actually in decline at the time. What isn't widely known about Mothman was at the time that the Mothman episode occurred, there was actually a very rare bird in the area, and I believe it's called a black crane. Now, this black crane has got a wingspan of about 6 to 8 feet and is not indigenous to the area. Apparently, it was hundreds of miles off course of where it should have been. And this crane had actually been reported in the area for a number of weeks before the Mothman thing occurred. But Mothman is another famous cryptid. Me personally, I don't believe in Mothman, but you know, that is a personal belief. But he's one worth noting in terms of animals, because he's basically, from what they describe, he's half moth, half human. What's your opinion on him, Sam?
I'm very skeptical of it. Yes, we've got the UK version, but I don't know. I when it comes to creatures like that, I am pretty skeptical. And how accurate the stories are. It's anyone's guess, really.
Julie?
Me.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good movie.
As I'm aware, you're the only person on the panel at the moment called Julie.
I didn't know if you said my name or not. Yeah, it was a good movie. Look, I never heard of a Mothman until I actually watched the movie, and then I found out that it was, supposed to be based on a true story. And I'm kind of the same. I don't really buy into it too much. I mean, as far as I know, is it the only place in the world that has had a Mothman sighting? This Point Pleasant?
No, he's appeared here in the UK. He's done a couple of special guest star appearances here in the UK as well.
Okay, was the UK sightings after the Point Pleasant?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
What is interesting to note about the Point Pleasant one is people can't agree on whether it's positive or negative. While the sightings were going on, there was a massive disaster in the area, and I believe it was a couple of days before Christmas. It may even have been Christmas Eve. The bridge across the river, which I believe is the Mississippi, I may be wrong. Oh no, it's not the Mississippi. I can't remember the river. Might be the Colorado River. The main river actually collapsed. The bridge collapsed in the middle of rush hour, and there was a lot of people in their cars at the time, and a lot of people died. What was a little bit icky about the situation was there were people claiming that Mothman had been spotted sitting on the bridge just before it collapsed. So this is another example of how mass hysteria starts to congeal around certain stories.
Yeah.
But there were a number of adults and children who died in the river. They actually drowned. The bridge collapsed, and it was in the rush hour, so the bridge was literally packed from end to end, and it
Yeah.
gave way and it went straight into the river, and they drowned.
Oh gosh.
But Mothman was actually, some people actually attribute Mothman to that. They claim that Mothman was the cause of the bridge collapsing because he was sitting on the bridge just before it happened. Another thing interesting to note is how he's very similar to what people would see as a demon, a man like with wings. So you do have to worry and wonder whether people have intermixed belief systems to come up with that story. There was no corroborating evidence that Mothman was actually on the bridge or seen on the bridge at the time, but there were claims after the bridge had collapsed that Mothman had been seen sitting in the girders of the bridge before it collapsed.
Okay.
So there you go on that one. We
Mm.
can then move on to the English version of Mothman, which is Owlman, believe it or not. Now, Owlman goes back to, is it the 70s, I believe, maybe the 80s, in Cornwall. There were two girls who actually reported a huge man who looked like an owl swooped down on them and tried to attack them. Now, Owlman is very similar to Mothman. It was in the church grounds he did it. For me personally, it's another one that just doesn't ring true. The Cornish have some really good myths, and they are quite superstitious, the people in Cornwall, because a lot of Cornwall is coastal, and people who live on the coast do tend to be, they have their superstitions, and Cornwall is an hotbed for myth and folklore, pretty much like Ireland is. It's there are a lot of quite big owls that nest in church belfries and stuff.
Yeah.
So there is a good chance that it was a misidentification with the original case. What is interesting to note is this was made famous by a local journalist who worked for a local paper, and this guy was known for being a little bit of an exaggerator. And he started to come forward with more cases of people who had actually seen Owlman or been attacked by Owlman. What is interesting to note is all the witnesses this guy put forward were either friends or family members of him. So,
Right.
you do have to take it with a pinch of salt. So,
Yeah.
Owlman is pretty much our version of the Mothman.
Well,
For me, again, personally, it ain't something I believe in, but each to their own.
yeah. When you think about big birds, a lot of big birds around here in the UK. When it comes to night time, they go to sleep. The owls come out at night to look for mice and things. And
Yeah.
I actually, a friend of a friend of mine has some birds of prey, and he does have a big owl, and it's pretty huge. It's pretty massive.
Yeah.
Well,
what is interesting in the Owlman case, as with Mothman, at the time there was a European eagle owl on the loose in the area that had been reported and cited. So a lot of people seem to think that what swooped down at them was a European eagle owl. I don't know people who've had any dealings with them. I had a friend who had one, and he used to have to feed it with a dustbin lid and a motorcycle helmet because it used to come at you like I used to help him feed it, and it was a nightmare to do. They are very territorial, and they are big, no doubt about it. That they've got a massive wingspan.
Oh yeah.
And that they've got no qualms about swooping down on people and clawing them. and there was a European eagle owl loose in the area at the time. I think originally what it was with the two girls, this big owl swooped down at them, spooked them, and you know what kids like. I don't think they did it deliberately, but things appear bigger to kids and get blown out of proportion. And this is what I personally believe it was with Cornwall. Again, it was added into the Cornwall myths and legends, like the Beast of Bodmin and stuff. So there's another one in UK. In the UK.
These birds of prey will come down and swoop and get rabbits and stuff like that. Yeah. So there's nothing to say that they won't swoop down and misidentify a human and attack them. I mean, so for God's sake, I was in Belfast waiting for the bus one day, and a seagull came down and attacked the man.
Yeah.
In front of everybody, so, people say, no, birds would stay away from humans. Not necessarily, no,
Yeah. European eagle owls are extremely territorial, and they will protect the territory, and they can be extremely aggressive. And I know that from personal experience. Like I say, my friend had one. And he got rid of it. Well, he got rid of the second one. He kept the one, but he got rid of the other one because he kept picking up his Jack Russell and flying around the living room with it. And his missus got a bit fed up with it, so he did actually get rid of one. But that was the aggressive one they got rid of, and he literally had to think. He got it in a room in the house, all on its own, and you used to have to go in with the dustbin lid like a shield and a motorcycle helmet on, because it went straight for your eyes as soon as you went in. It came feet first for your face. So they are known for being aggressive, but it's quite an interesting one, that.
Tony has a question.
Yeah, go on then.
What's your take on the Jersey Devil?
The Jersey Devil, I haven't really looked much into. Is that the one with the footprints?
I have no idea.
I'm sure it is. I think that's the one where it was reported footprints and stuff. I haven't really looked much, if I'm honest, into the Jersey Devil, Tony. We got it by some
Jersey, Philadelphia.
Yeah, I have heard of the Jersey Devil, but I've never really looked much into it.
Yeah, neither have I.
Bigfoot is another one that can actually come under the classification of animals in the supernatural, or in the case of Australia, the Yowie, in the Himalayas, the abominable snowman, or the Yeti, and in Canada, pretty much the Sasquatch. Sam used to believe it was a big hairy ape. I don't know what, she's got a new T-shirt now, so I don't know what her current beliefs are with it. A hide and seek champion T-shirt. But there are a lot of people out there who believe that Bigfoot is nothing but a large species of ape that hasn't been classified as of yet. Personally, I don't believe that. I'm on the side of the fence that Bigfoot is more of an elemental type thing.
Yeah,
he's possibly not resident here all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a massive lack of evidence of feces and hair and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And nesting areas and stuff like that, So
yeah,
it's a difficult one,
yeah, it is.
I mean, you have so many people that have gone out with big cages and trying to track this thing, and there's no animal evidence as such. Yes, there's been red hair found, but it's often it was found out that it was a different type of animal,
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I mean, even in Ireland, there's a map there, and it's dotted around. It seems to be dotted around near coastal areas. Towns near coastal areas, not so much Midlands or anything like that, which is a kind of a strange one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, in Australia here, not only do we have like our yowie sightings, but there's also something called a bunyip. And a bunyip, if you can imagine a kangaroo.
It's always have funny names for things.
Yeah, they do. But if you can imagine a kangaroo, but with a head that looks like a rabbit, that's kind of like what a bunyip looks like. And I did some research into this not so long ago because I live 20 minutes away from, you know, a little town called Gundagai. And in Gundagai, it's supposed to have had one of these famous bunyip sightings.
Yeah.
And the more I looked into it, the more I found that the sighting was way back, like I think early 1900s, late 1800s.
Mhm.
And if you look into it nowadays, the bunyip is actually the shape of the river around Gundagai is in the shape of a bunyip. So maybe somewhere along the lines, people have got their wires crossed.
Yeah.
And when they said bunyip by the river, they may have meant the shape of the river and not an actual being. Yeah. So that was interesting.
Right. Seagull says, all I'm suggesting by that, and what did he say before that? Well, missed any comments of seagulls. That's true, Sam. Isn't there evidence of giant bones and things, though? It's hard to come by as it's been covered up, but I'm sure I've seen bits and pieces here and there over the years. And then he went to say, all I'm suggesting by that is that perhaps Bigfoot isn't that far from evidence in as much as it being perhaps a genetic anomaly, humanish. I believe it is humanish. I don't believe it's human, and I don't believe it's primate either in any way, shape, or form. I do believe that Bigfoot is elemental in nature. Right, the last famous animal case we'll touch on before we go on to a more general paranormal discussion is the Beast of Bray Road. Now, the Beast of Bray Road is a case that is connected to Bray Road in Wisconsin. I always struggle with that bloody state name. And this rose to prominence in the 80s and 90s. One of the earliest cases was a woman was driving down Bray Road and an animal ran in front of her and she hit it with a car. So she got out the car to see what she'd hit, walked to the front of the car, and apparently the huge great wolf got up and chased her back into a car and actually clawed the side of a car while she was trying to get away. Now, the Beast of Bray Road has been reported numerous times. What is interesting about the Beast of Bray Road is even the local sheriff believes it. I don't know why, but apparently he's had so many reports about it and investigated so many cases. He does believe that the Beast of Bray Road exists. Another thing that's interesting about it is he claims that he himself has experienced paranormal phenomena surrounding it, things flying off shelves and stuff, when the Beast of Bray Road has been discussed. Now, the Beast of Bray Road, again, is another wolf-like thing. It has been reported loads of times. It has actually even been reported hunting deer. It was actually seen chasing a deer across a field and killing it. It is what is really interesting a bit about this case is it is amazing how many times this thing has been hit by cars. Now, I don't know whether it's some kind of hunting strategy it's developed, but it seems to have worked out that if it steps in front of a car and gets hit, whoever's in the car gets out to look to see what they've hit. And the amount of people who've actually reported this thing has tried to attack them when they've got out of the cars is untrue. It has been seen all over the area in Wisconsin where it actually occurs. I believe it is actually also known to have visited various houses to the point of it's looked through people's windows and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
God.
again, it's another wolf type thing, and the description of it is again another massive sized wolf type creature. Some people have claimed it runs on all fours. Other people have actually claimed it gets up on its hind legs and walks like a human. So that's another one. That's another famous one, the Beast of Bray Road. But I thought I'd touch on that one as the last one because it's the interesting one. Go on, Sam.
Was that the I seen a reconstruction of a similar event where these footprints were seen in the snow going into somebody's garden.
Yeah.
And then right across the roof.
Yes, that's connected
Yeah.
to the Beast Bray Road. There
Wow.
have been numerous sightings of it. People have, it's got to the point now where the people who live in the town turn a blind eye to it, sort of thing. They don't. It is very much like Dogman Tony. They don't interact with it or attempt to interact with it because the Beast of Bray Road is considered to be aggressive to the point it actively tries to hunt people. So it's one of the things that they tend to ignore. It's not cited so much now, but it is still ongoing up to this day. There is still occasional sites of it. What is interesting about the Beast of Bray Road is even though the main concentration of sightings happened in the 80s and 90s, reports of the Beast in the Bray Road area actually go back to about 1936, I believe, is one of the earliest documented cases of it. So whatever it is has actually been resident in the area for quite a long time. May not be the same animal. It could actually be a colony of whatever it is running around.
Must be pretty big though, is it?
Yeah. It's been reported about 8 feet tall when it stands up on its legs.
Wow.
But when it was seen chasing the deer, it ran on all 4 legs. But apparently, it's quite capable of standing up on its hind legs. And the first case that came to light in the 70s, in the 80s, when that woman hit it, it actually chased her. It chased her back into a car and started to try and claw its way in. And she drove. And, there's actually documented evidence of the claw marks on the car. And that is a common thing. This thing has been hit by cars a number of times, and it has also been reported as actively stalking people as well on more than one occasion. So whatever it is, it's not a pleasant thing, and it's not frightened of people. It will actually hunt people. Now, the only animal on the planet at the moment that has got a strategy for hunting man is the polar bear, but they believe that the Beast of Bray Road could be another one if and when it proves to be, a real animal.
Well, it's interesting because even the wolves, I think, in the US and that, they'll hunt in packs and they'll only attack people or hunt people if they're inside of the zone of their den, won't they?
Yeah.
They'll only attack,
And wolves rarely attack unless somebody's injured anyway.
Yeah.
Wolves are quite shy of man. They would rather move off than move in, sort of thing. There have been wolf attacks, but then they're not as common as people think they are. My father, when he was younger, Tony would travel around Australia with his dad while his dad looked for work, and he has seen the min lights. What are the min lights, Julia? You like to name things really strange.
Well, because it's an an indigenous kind of thing, Aboriginal, I should say. So the Min lights is a Northern Territory phenomenon. So more or less, a lot of people are saying, it could be UFO or it could be some kind of dimensional thing or something. But a lot of people, when they're driving through the outback, they'll see lights. And it's just these lights that come out of nowhere, and they could be there or they could start moving around. And it's just these big orbs. And I haven't looked into them a lot, but I know that my dad told me about it. And when he was very, very little, he lived with my pop. And they used to travel around the Northern Territory and that, doing a lot of work on the farms and things up there. And he said once when they were driving through the Northern Territory, they came across the Min lights. And he said they were just like these orbs that were just there. And they were so, so bright, like you couldn't see through your windshield. Yeah.
Gay says they've also been seen is that Pillager Mountains? Palaga Mountains? I don't know how you pronounce it in Australia.
Western Australia, Gay? Yeah, probably. Yes. It's up during Northern Territory, probably top of South Australia and Western Australia. It's kind of up in that region of Australia, the top region. So, yeah.
Okay. Right, that's pretty much the animal side of it. We'll just go on to more general paranormal topics now. Now, I've got something to tell you. Me and my big mouth got me into trouble this week. I stated on the channel last week that nothing had been happening in this house. Following day, guess what? I'm hoping Jay's ain't still on because I still ain't told him, Julie.
I haven't seen him for a little bit.
Right. I came downstairs the other, when was it? Was it Saturday morning when I told you?
I believe so, yeah.
Sunday morning, sat at my computer, turned it on as I always do. It's the first thing I do. Sit down and turn my computer on. Checked all my Facebook and stuff. Did all that. Now I sat at me and Jace got up about 8:10, I'd say, 8 o'clock, 8:10. Now I sat at my computer for a full hour, happily tapping away on answering Facebook and stuff like that. Then Jace left at 9 o'clock to go home, like he normally does. I got up to let him out, said ta-ra to him, shut the door, turned around, sat down at my computer, went to type, and one of the keys was missing off my keyboard. The F8 key, smack bang in the middle of my keyboard. I did actually take a picture of it and send it to Julie. I spent over 15 minutes, it was, I think, searching for this keyboard. I sat at my computer. I stripped all my desk off. I looked down the back of the desk. I looked on my chair. I looked on the floor. I went in the kitchen and checked the dog beds in case the dogs had pinched it and stuff. Couldn't find it. After about 15 minutes, I thought, bugger it. It'll turn up when it wants to turn up. I pulled my chair back to the desk, sat down on it, and as I put my arms down on the chair, the key dug into my arms, and it was actually reappeared on the arms of my chair. So me and my big mouth saying nothing had happened in the house for months jinxed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did actually message Julie and tell her about it and sent to them while it was going on because I couldn't find my bloody key. And it's an expensive keyboard. I was a little peed off, but I'd actually sat at my computer while I was trying to check in the desk with my arms on the armrest, and it wasn't there. And then when I went into the kitchen to check the dog, and I've been 10, 15 minutes. I was checking everywhere down the back of the desk, down the sides, under the desk. I'd even got my torch and my phone looking for it. Went into the kitchen, shook all the dog beds out to check, came back in, and I actually had to pull my computer desk back in front of the desk by the arm it was on. And then as I sat down and hi Jacqueline and put my arm down on the chair, it dug into my arm and it was actually on the armrest. So now I've got a keyboard thief, so I'm having to keep an eye on that. Luckily, nothing else has happened. But I said to Julie, that's my own fault for opening my mouth and saying nothing's happened here for ages.
Mm-hmm. That's whatever it is turning around and going, oh no, we're still here. Let us remind you of that.
It is the most weirdest things for him to pinch an F8 key,
mm-hmm.
of all things.
Because it's the one thing you pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. But I was literally working for an hour on the computer, got up to let Jace out, took all of 30 seconds, sat back down at the computer, went to type on YouTube and thought, where's my F8 key gone? Because my keyboard's illuminated. It was blatantly obvious it weren't there.
Yep.
Jay says that happens to me, nothing. Then I say something and something happens. Yeah, Gay, it was my own fault. It was definitely my own fault. What were you going to say, Sam?
Yeah, we had an activity last night, which was a strong smell of perfume, which has happened a number of times here in the house, and I can't go into too much detail about it, but I believe there's a personal link there, you know what I mean? So it just happened to happen. It just happened to happen when I was doing my loop method ITC with my projector. That was a weird experience, I'm telling you. You know, the whole wall was like being in space. It was just everything was moving. you know. And in the middle of it, I had to go out for a little while just to readjust my eyes, you know. But yeah, very, very strong smell of perfume. And it came and it went so quickly, you know.
Seago says his dad has experiences a lot to the point that he no longer bothers looking for stuff. He knows it will turn up somewhere. That was exactly what I did, Seago, because I sat down, you know, after about 15 minutes, I thought, well, it'll turn up because things have in the past. And literally, I think it was just because I got to the point where it was no longer bothering me, they put it back. But instead of putting it back on the keyboard, they stuck it on the arm of my chair. But it was a freaky one, a really freaky one, that one. Apparently, it's called Pilbur, so I'll know how to pronounce it in future.
Pilbara. I'm sure that's in Western Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to take a break for a minute.
Okay.
Back in a second.
Okay. Tara said, I've been getting random smell of cigarette smoke in my house today at work.
You big child. Grow up, for fuck's sake.
We're going to have to change that for another one next week to surprise
everybody.
Oh,
you do.
Does the cigarette smell have any association for you, Tara? Because one thing I've actually found a lot, when people get smells, they are normally significant to them. You know, yeah. they tend to be smells that people that have a significance to people.
Yeah. I've smelt cigarette smoke.
Now.
Hey?
We need a wiping sound to stick on the end of it, like sandpaper sound.
You do.
A lot of you have smoked. You used to. When did you last smell it, Julie?
What, cigarette smoke?
Mm.
Oh, it probably would have been in the last couple of weeks. And I haven't smoked for years. So it's not me or any of my belongings, but I had a lot of relatives that smoked as well. I kind of like, I knew who it was connected to, but yeah. I do have that happen sometimes.
I had it happen a few years ago. It ain't something I experience very often, but what I actually smelt was, you probably know what you won't know what it is. It's called germaline. And over here, it's like it's an antiseptic cream. You know, you can just put it on cuts and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's a really old remedy. You don't see it very often now. But my nan used to use it for everything. And, you know, I always associate that smell with my nan. And I smelt that a couple of years ago.
Oh.
In the house. No, I know I've got no germaline. I don't even know if you can get it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the strong smell of germaline in the house. And I always associate that smell with my nan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
My grandmother smoked. She was the only one in the family that welcomed me. We were very close. She passed a couple of years ago. Yeah, Tara, I often say that, you know, that the best way, you know, that a lot of them seem to find to come through is via giving you smells rather than jumping out the wardrobe and going boot here. You know, because for some reason, you know, people smelling a certain smell, it tends to trigger more, you know, more memories and stuff.
Yeah, it does. It's a more gentle way of them, you know, being able to say hello to you rather than appearing and frightening you or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seago says my mother uses that stuff. Oh, so you can still get it, Seago. It does have an incredibly specific smell. There is nothing else that smells like germaline.
Germaline. I'm going to look that up.
No, I haven't. Jackie, to be honest with you, spirit boxes don't work very well in the area I am. Because we're in a valley, as soon as you turn any radio, you get really horrible squawking interference. So I struggle to get any decent signals where I am. But I will try it and see.
Hmm.
I will try it and see. But I did actually tell Julie as it was happening. I was talking to Julie as it was happening.
Yeah, we were both spinning out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Gay says she agrees. She sometimes smells the perfume of the mother-in-law. Yeah, I think there is certain smells that you associate with people, and I think it's probably easier for them to put that smell to you than full body manifestation type of thing.
Yeah, I believe so too.
And
I was just
and let's be honest, most people are probably going to be more freaked out if some dead relative popped up in front of them than they would be just to smell someone associated with them. It's a
absolutely.
much more gentler, introduction. Jacqueline says Germaline was a feature of my young life. It was mine as well, Jacqueline. I didn't even realise you could still get it. And the only person I ever associate Germaline with was my grandmother.
Never heard of it, actually.
Yeah, it's like it used to be in a round tin, Sam, and it was a pink ointment. It was very pinky coloured, and you could actually use it on cuts, stings, grazes, everything. It was basically just an antiseptic cream, but it has got the most distinct smell to it. It really has. You stop doing Desmond impressions. I'll let you out in a minute. Tiger Balm ointment is another one she uses, and that stuff absolutely reeks. It does, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I use Tiger Balm, yeah.
Hi, Stephen. Stephen says he gets the smell of his mother's perfume sometimes.
Yeah.
You probably haven't seen. You probably ain't heard of it, gay, in Australia. I think it is actually a UK thing, Germany.
Yeah, I've never heard of it either.
And TCP, Tomcat's piss.
Yeah, TCP is another one.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Bizarrely strong memory connectors. They can take you back to a 20-year-old memory. This is why I think they do it, Stingo. I think smells are actually a better memory trigger than images are. I really do. I think smells tend to trigger people's memories more so than visual stimulus.
Yeah, they do. I mean, if you recall, like, a lot of our mums and things probably wore the same perfumes for most of their lives, and your mum's perfume can trigger a memory of you being hugged or cuddled or whatever else, comfort. Yeah. Absolutely.
So have you smelt that perfume much lately, Sam, or was that just a one-off?
No, this is just the third time.
Recent.
The other two times happened about 2 years ago, and it's both of those times. I was going through a bit of a bad time, and on one of those occasions, we had to abandon the house for a while.
Yeah.
What happened was I got back and the dog was choking, and we opened up all the doors and windows, door out to the balcony and everything, and the smell wouldn't go away, and the dog just continually was coughing and that, and I was starting to get overcome myself, so we left for about a half an hour. We came back, and the same thing. It was still very, very strong, and then within a couple of seconds, it just went. Thing was, all the windows and doors were opened and that, and the smell just stayed.
Yeah.
And it even out, to get a bit of fresh air, I took the dog out to the balcony, and we were still getting the smell on the balcony, even though there was a wind. It's quite strange. But there is a person. I think there is a personal connection there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to fully go into it here, but and the dog, would sometimes go out to the door like she'd normally do, because she knows this smell. She knew when this person was coming to the house and that, and she would go to the door, and I'd say they're coming, basically. And sometimes the dog would be at the door, even to this day, even though I've moved apartments and everything.
Yeah.
Still the same behaviour. But these three incidents last night, not so much. You know, it hung around for a little bit. It happened while I was filming, and I haven't fully looked into the Spurt box session while I was doing the visual ITC, the loop method on the wall. The wall had a big, massive projection of the loop method, and it was like you were going through a portal of sorts. That there was,
Yeah,
it was like a white fire kind of thing. And halfway through it, I took a little break and went out to the balcony just to adjust the eyes and that. But I haven't fully gone through the actual Spurt box session. But at the beginning of that session, a very small, strong smell of perfume. And you know, when anything like this happens, I think, especially the first two incidents, I think, you know, did a bottle of perfume or something like that, or air freshener break or something like that. You know, there was no smell in the bathroom or hall. It was in the sitting room, sort of thing. And, you know, it's just kind of weird.
yeah. Seago says, my mom being that she in that situation just realised that, oh no. After my grandparents passed on, my mom's side, she often smelt her perfume in the living room. It was a frequent occurrence for a while. Then Seago goes on to a long explanation of what he actually meant. Seago, I actually understood what you originally put. It was
me too.
It was perfectly fine. Kel says, thanks for this. I'm a huge believer in animals' sensitivity to spirits. So am I. I was telling Julie and Sam about this the other day. When I lived in the old house, Kaya would constantly stand at the bottom of my stairs and stare up the stairs. Now, Shebas do this thing that not many dogs do. That when they meet somebody for the first time and they don't quite know them, they stand and they stare and they do this tail. They don't wag, they twitch. They twitch the tail backwards and forwards, and it's an allow. I'm friendly. I'm just trying to work out whether you are or not. And Kaya used to do that constantly at the bottom of my stairs. She'd stand there, she'd stare intently up the stairs, and she'd do the tail twitch, and then all of a sudden she'd start wagging, meaning she was okay with it. And Kaya used to do that pretty much every single night in my old house. Coco used to walk past the bottom of the stairs, never even glanced once, but Kaya used to do it constantly. And she would what you could see her watching something as if it was moving on the landing, and she'd sit there doing the hello, are your friend or hopefully. It was, and Kaya always did. She's never done it here. She's not fascinated with looking up the stairs like she was in the old days. She was absolutely obsessed with something at the top of the stairs.
That kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. Jackie says, Sam, you can ask the spirits to make the smell less strong, tone it down. Deborah says she liked your test, Sam. Aromatherapy. See, Miss Q, this is why I think why aromatherapy works for a lot of people, because I believe of all your senses, I think smell is really underrated compared to what it actually does. And a lot of people don't realise that your sense of smell is used on a much more subconscious level than your eyesight is. Yeah. And I think this may be why, they use things and smells, because it taps right into your subconscious.
Yeah.
Do you think just thinking about someone who has passed then a smell, a scent, it's like a thought because it triggers a memory of a person we smelled so much? Could be possible, Deborah. It could be mental, but that day I smelled germaline with my grandmother. I weren't actually thinking of her at the time. It was a totally random smell, and it was strong. It was like it was literally open on the table in front of me, and it only lasted for about 20 seconds, if that, and then it faded away. But it could, sometimes it could, I think sometimes it's, there's a paranormal explanation for it. Sometimes there probably is a psychological explanation for it.
Yeah, well, I had a witness for the first two incidents. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was affected in the first two incidents.
Yeah, this is the good thing. When you smell something like that and you've got somebody else with you and they can smell it as well. And what is even better is if they actually mention it to you before you mention it to them. If you notice it and then they say, can you smell such and such? And you go, yeah, I can actually. For me, that is even more reinforcing it.
Well, my witness was the dog, so she's not going to tell me, but she was caught. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Kel says they can sense it for sure. Aromatherapy can help PTSD and other health issues, certain fragrances, specific ailments. Deborah says it ain't happened to her. See, I'm not. When it comes to aromatherapy, I don't believe that certain smells are the same for everybody, because I think it works, but I think you have to find your own set of what works for you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of aromatherapy people, if you speak to them, they'll say, "Oh, if you need something to calm you down, you know, burn some lavender oil." Now, I'll find lavender quite sickly.
Mm.
You know, so it doesn't actually calm me down. It actually makes me feel quite queasy, lavender. You know, but cedar wood, if I burn that, or sandalwood, I find them calming. You know, I think, you know, I do believe, and I think it's because it touches into your subconscious. I think your sense of smell is what is your sense that is more in touch with your subconscious than anything else.
See, I have a if I'm having trouble sleeping, I have a body wash that has lavender in it, or I'll use a couple of drops of lavender on my pillow or something like that, and I'm okay with that. But if it's an incense or something that's, you know, meant to be lavender, I can't burn it because it's way too overpowering.
I find
And
it.
sandalwood's good for me too. Yeah.
Seago says, since our landlord's dog passed, if we have our door open, Sylvester has occasionally picked up his ears and stared intently into the corridor as if there was a dog there. That is exactly what
Oh.
Kaya used to do. But Kaya used to look at the stairs with her head tilted back as if she was looking at a person at the top of the stairs, and she used to do that on. It was normally during the night, but it would occasionally happen during the day as well. It used to be early evening mainly. But, you know, Coco never batted an eyelid. She'd be in and out, you know, between the living room and the kitchen. Never looked. But Kaya used to sit there for hours sometimes. And so sometimes she'd just stand, and she was, when they're intent, they lean forward on the legs slightly and they watch. And she used to do that. And she'd do the tail flick, and then she'd start wagging really fast, like she decided whatever she was looking at was okay. But she used to do that literally on a daily basis in the old days. Every single day without fail.
Do you think it was the dog that you used to see, or do you think it was more of another entity?
I've no idea. I have absolutely
Yeah.
no idea. But what is interesting is that was where I saw that shadow figure that night when Jace was in the bedroom and it came onto the hallway.
Oh, yes.
Red spot.
The big one.
Yeah. But Kaya behaved like somebody was talking to her, because Shebas, as you talk to them, they do the tail flick, and then it'll stop a bit, and then the more you talk to them, they get faster and faster, and that was what she'd do. And it was literally like somebody was praising her or something, but she'd stare intently up the stairs, sometimes for an hour. It was uncanny. It was literally every day she used to do it. I agree, Brett. Peppermint essence is meant to help with migraines and makes me physically sick. Yeah. Kel says, now each metabolism is different. I'm not an expert at all. And oh yeah, you definitely do, Kel. See, there's some things, because I've had the heart attack now and the medication I'm on, I have to be careful which ones I use, because some of them can actually be detrimental to me. Yeah, I love peppermint, Gay, but I don't like if it's overpowering. Jackie's Woody's a man. Yeah, I think he's more masculine. Look, I'm just going to run to the loo. Can you and Julie carry on talking for a sec?
Certainly can.
I've had vanilla candles and vanilla oil, and I think it's disgusting. I don't know, it's sickly.
Yeah, some smells get that way, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the incenses and things they have, like musk and all that, I can't burn it because it will give me headaches. So,
Yeah.
lavender can be too strong for me, but saying that, I love frankincense, which is really strong. Yeah, frankincense is really strong too, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm. Lemongrass. Lemongrass is nice. Kel, a lot of essences I have to be careful with as they are so strong. I'm fine with lavender though. Yeah.
You
So
know
have
this.
you
Go on ahead. Go on ahead.
how have your spirit box sessions been going? Have you had anything really interesting pop up lately since last week or?
I'm getting cold a lot.
Turn off bathroom lights.
You know,
Are you?
yeah, but thing is, I'm not documenting them, you know, date by date. Some of my sessions go into December, basically. You know, I just find a slot and I'll put them in there. But I've had a quiet spell for a couple of days where I wasn't getting very much in that, but it's starting to pick up again now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to change it up a bit now as well, with, you know, trying out the loop method, you know, visual ITC stuff, you know. I have been doing ITC with a line out from the spur box into the line into to a small television, and the screen would be affected by the sound level. That's pretty interesting. I'm ongoing with that, but I'm very interested now as well with the loop method, especially when I have this whole display on the back wall here. You know.
Yeah.
What else? What else am I doing? I've lost my train of thought. But
That's all right.
the visual ITC. I'm still working on that. I want to try and get back into EVP with a lot of different recorders and stuff like that, and possibly back into direct radio voice. And I've been practicing my hand scanning with this little baby here, and I think this is great. You know, it looks pretty cool too. It's like the cockpit of a plane.
It looks very cool.
You know, you just put your thumb on it like that and just sweep over across.
Yep.
And it's got copyright. You can turn on and off the light. You know, you've got your little cockpit cluster where you can turn on and off the light. I like the spurs of St. Louis radios. You know, so I'm trying to do that, and then I'm trying some what do you call it? Direct radio voice as well. You know, so I'm trying a bit of everything. You know.
Yep.
You know, but rather than just doing a spur box session every single morning, sometimes I try to mix it up a bit. You know.
Yeah.
Recently too, I bought this little Roberts, and I thought I was going to be able to hack it, but it turns out it's a manual radio. It's a Roberts 9968, and it comes in a little pouch that's basically, you know, fastened to it, and that actually is a fantastic little manual. You know, so it's got FM medium wave and 7 different short waves.
Wow.
And the short waves are pretty good. And the way back in the day, what happened was there's a big dial here. Now, say if I went to on holidays to Sydney, you know, and I have the time in here, instead of having to figure out what the time is and dial it in, you just switch the dial over to Sydney, and the time will change straight away.
Oh wow!
It basically is a little travel radio, you know. But see, the thing is about this radio is when you move the dial, it's slow on the pickup. It's kind of got a delay in it, and that kind of helps me with the scan.
Yep.
You know, so different radios. It's kind of like using different instruments. You have to sort of practice to get the rhythm right and stuff like that. But that's what I'm doing as well. You know.
I like the fact though that you use a lot.
Native American name in the chat.
You're Native American.
Yeah, so far we must have
Quite.
quite paranormal.
Is that for you?
If we're on a Native American stream, what do you think? I'll ask Julie first. What do you think, if you believe you've got one, is your spirit animal or your totem animal, Julie?
I know what mine is. Mine's an owl. And I have many reasons why it's an owl.
Go on then.
All right. So many years ago, after my first, I will say, relationship separation, which was my early 20s, I lived in this little place that was out in the middle of nowhere. No other houses around me or anything. And I went through a really difficult time. And all of a sudden one night, I was a smoker then, so I'd go outside to smoke because I had a little child. So I'd go out the back, and one night there's an owl that popped up, and he used to come and sit on my clothesline. And every night without fail that I went outside, he would be there on the clothesline. Hey?
Do you think he'd come for a cigarette?
No, it was kind of like I read it as being a sign. And then about a year later, after I moved kind of in town from where I was, I had this dream, which I think was quite prophetic. And in the dream, I had an entity come to me in the form of a big white owl, and it transformed and spoke to me and said some things which I won't repeat, but I've had a few things happen since. I can't remember all of it, but it's actually ironic too. This is many years before I even thought about going into the paranormal. This is my 20s. Mm-hmm. And it was a paranormal kind of based dream before he appeared to me, which was kind of prophetic. But it's just all these things have happened over the years, and it's always led me back to the same one. And I just know. It's like a knowing. When you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
See, I'm like that with the wolf.
Yeah.
It's
Sam?
going to be a strange one.
Go on.
Horses or donkeys?
Why is it strange?
That's not strange.
You know, say if I'm driving past and I see horses or a donkey and I have to stop and that, and if they come over and that, I like put my hand right between the eyes, and they just, well, when you do that, it you know, they just calm down, they just stop, you know, and it's like a calming energy off them, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very hard to explain, but that's what I love putting my hand right between the eyes of the horse or a donkey, and just you know, try to transfer the calming energy, or do I get the calming energy from them? I don't know, you know.
Tara says in astrology she's a horse, but she swears the spirit animal's a hawk. That's an interesting one. Jackie says grey wolf for her. Gay says she has no idea. Don't you feel an affinity to any animal, Gay? Tony says you do offer tobacco to the native lands as a sign of respect. Right, no way. I smoke all mine. Not unless they ask for one, but they get one. Jackie says, how's cat always been with me, and my cat would send me images, so yours is the cat then. Tony, I don't know if I have a spirit animal. I think I need to go to the pound to find it. He is lost, lol.
You'll know when you find it.
And Jackie says, and dragons as well. She's Year of the Dragon and always loved them. Oh, that's an interesting one for Deborah. Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Gay's cats. Seagull, oddly enough, says he's a cat as well. Kel says, wow, Julie, I got lost once. I stopped at the crossroads and took a big breath and asked the universe to show me the way. A big white barn owl came swooping down and turned left, and I followed, lost no more.
Yeah, it's like if I could draw and share my dream with you. Yeah.
You don't want me to draw and share my dreams with you?
No, we don't. They would involve lots of poles. I could see it now. What are you doing?
Tara says, I have one that comes and sits on my fence when I go outside all the time. It speaks and it seems like it's trying to communicate with me. Yeah, you can have more than one spirit animal. There you go. Gay says she's sure there's a ghost cat with her. Yeah, I only ever experienced it with Humphrey, and I am convinced to this day it was him sitting down, because he used to do this really distinct snort, and it was literally right the side of the sofa where I was sitting when he did it. To the point I'd actually forgot he was gone and looked over the sofa to see what he was doing. There you go. Tara says her adores horses, Sam. Tara can come round and stroke your nose and shove carrots in your mouth.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, actually, because my stepmom has 2 horses out there, and my dad, I should say, and they're calm. Like, you can put your hand on their butt and go, okay, I'm coming around, or just say I'm coming around and walk past. They don't even flinch. They're very calm horses. But I walk up and try and pat them on the nose, and they won't let me. And yet you can just do it to any of them.
I'll put that question, Jack. Sorry, Sam. Can I just answer this?
Yeah.
I was actually going to cover this in the animal section and forgot to. What is the difference between familiar animal and totem animal? A totem animal is more of a guide or a representation of yourself. A familiar is basically a cohort or an assistant that helps you do things.
Yep.
A totem is more internalized. A familiar would be more externalized, and a familiar would be more independent of you. They are literally, a familiar is literally like a, for want of a better word, a supernatural assistant. Tony says he's always been drawn to eagles. I used to go fishing. There were always eagles around. I have a few tattoos on me. I feel connected to them. Yeah. I'm covered in wolves. I got them all over my back. Familiar is generally a practitioner's pet cohort. Totem is an emblem based on your life chart kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a spirit totem is more of a guide or an internalized representation of you. A familiar is basically a supernatural assistant, something that will actually help you do things.
Speaking of eagles, did anyone see that online video that was a couple of weeks ago? That massive eagle that swooped down and tried to steal the baby that was sitting on the ground.
No.
It picked up this little kid on the ground, and the father's like saw it last minute. And, hey, so the eagle dropped the kid and kept going.
Well, keeping along the animal topic, that is. Have you heard of the Firebirds?
No.
They're another cryptid. They're supposed to be a giant, almost like a condor type thing. And there is actually a report going back quite a while. I think it was the 70s or 80s, where one actually picked an 11-year-old boy up, and they it was a Firebird, and literally flew across the garden with him before he dropped him.
Wow.
It picked an 11-year-old boy, and to this day, he still insists that it was it was a firebird and it was a giant bird. It literally lifted an 11-year-old boy off the ground, a thunderbird, sorry, not firebird, thunderbird, and flew across the garden with him. I stand corrected, Tara. You're right. It is thunderbird, not firebird. I was thinking of phoenixes. Yeah.
Never heard of thunderbirds. So.
Yeah, that's what they call them, thunderbirds. And there's people mistake them for condors and stuff like that. They're very raptor looking. They are actually. I remember vividly seeing a snow leopard in the zoo as a kid, and it being one of the only animals I felt a genuinely strong connection to. Looks like it's definitely cats we use. There you go.
Yeah, there's a cat thing there.
The Native Americans believed and worshipped the thunderbird. I believe they're a South American thing as well. But yeah, they're like pretty much like giant condors is probably the best way to describe them.
Wow.
Jackie Evelyn, Luca is a terrible familiar. I go to the beach and do prayers in the sand, and she sits on the drawings in the sand and sits on my collarbone. I end up laughing. Who's Luca?
Her dog.
Oh, right. I'm the same with lions when I visit a zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe people, the Aborigines, the Incas, the Mayans, the Aztecs, they were all civilizations that were much farther advanced in the paranormal than we were, to the point it was pretty much every day for them. It weren't paranormal to them. It was it was natural. It was a natural occurrence.
Yeah.
And plus,
part of the faith.
I believe it was the Mayans. It could have been the Incas, but I believe it was the Mayans actually invented chocolate. So I've got to thank them for that as well. Yeah, the bird from City of Gold. That was actually a funny cartoon because it was given two different names over here, and I can't remember what the other one was. I don't know if you ever had it in Australia, Julie. They flew in the ship. It was a cartoon about. It was a cartoon about they were searching for the what's it, and they flew in the condor. But they actually changed the name of it over here for some reason.
Oh yeah, I remembered watching that. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, they changed the name of it over here. I think we're all showing our age here, Kel.
Shh! Stop bringing that up.
Anybody under 35 is probably sitting there going, "What the hell are they on about?"
I was watching this TikTok actually last night, and it's like put a finger down challenge. Put a finger down if you know what if you've ever played a cassette tape. Put a finger down if you've ever used a landline. Put a finger down if what else? Oh, if you've ever used a disposable camera. I know there was like heaps of them, and I'm like, oh my god, like I could put everyone down, and I'm like, I'm getting old.
In fact, all of those things I still have.
Probably do something.
People are wondering why the hell do you still have a VCR under your TV? Do you know?
You have one. Yeah.
Do you know? I have a.
Kel, I can still remember that song of that cartoon, but I cannot for the life of me remember what the bloody cartoon's two names were. Was it Flight of the Phoenix? I think it was originally called Flight of the Phoenix, and then they changed it to something else.
The Mysterious Cities of Gold.
Yeah. I'm 55 now, and I'd get to put a finger down for all of them and still have some of them. Yeah.
Originally released in Japan as Esteban, Child of the Sun, and in France as Les Misteriosos Cities d'Or. There you go.
Dior's gold, isn't it, in French?
Yeah.
I ain't got a VHS anymore. I ain't that old.
No.
Have you still got a VHS?
No. Yeah, I do. I do. It's a DVD VCR combo thing. I don't use it, but I've got it.
Yeah, 2 of them. And I still have a video camera. It's a big, massive TV video camera. It's absolutely huge.
I can
Oh,
actually
wow.
remember my very first camcorder, and it was a Sony, and it was literally about that wide and about that high, and it used to sit on your shoulder like a full-blown professional camera does now. It was
God.
gigantic, and that had full-size VHS tapes in it.
Yeah, back in the day, they would have been, they would have been a fortune,
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked it up in a charity shop for £15, and actually the battery is bigger than my camcorders I have now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I can remember the battery on mine. It was huge.
Yeah.
It was like it was literally the length of the big camera, and it snapped on the bottom. Kel says she still has VHS and a Betamax. I can still remember. Betamax was actually better quality. It was just that the tapes couldn't last as long, and that was why VHS became more popular.
What's Betamax?
Betamax was the other format. Betamax and VHS came out together. It was just a different format, but they were smaller tapes. But it was better picture quality on Betamax. And then, can you remember the CD discs? They were like record vinyl sized, the laser discs.
Yeah.
That they died a death quick as well.
And then we had mini disc.
Yeah.
Never had mini disc actually.
I had a mini disc player.
I watched this channel called Tech Moon. He goes into all that kind of stuff. Pretty interesting.
I believe my old space opera is still at my mum and dad's.
Or a big orange thing.
Mine was blue. With the handles were like curly horns that you hung on to. A bit demonic, if you think about it. It's got demon horns to hang on to for what's it?
Yeah, and there was a horrible smell off them.
Yeah, they'd got a rubbery vinyl smell to them.
Yeah. What on earth is a space hopper?
It's a giant ball you sit on, and it's got handles, and you bounce.
Oh, they were cool.
Yeah.
Mine had got a face on it and curly horns for handles. It was like a Desmond.
Oh God.
And then you had a space hopper, which was like a football with a disc around it. It looked like Saturn. And you stood on the plastic disc and you bounced up and down on that.
Oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kel said she had a chopper bike. I never had a chopper. I had the smaller version. I had the Tomahawk I had it when I was 7 for my Christmas. And I always remember because on Christmas morning, we went to go out and it was snowing. And as I went through the door on my bike, rather than pushing it out the door, I tried to ride it out and I fell off it. My dad went mad. I hadn't even got the bike out the house and I fell off it.
God.
Yeah, the chopper, everybody thought the chopper was cool, but way back in the day, the first Honda Civic that came out, they were all automatic with this kind of a handle, a gear handle on it, and they were all automatic, these little round Honda Civics, and it reminded me of those, and the design was great, even with the chrome coil springs at the back and everything.
I can still pogo, and I had a pair of stilts. I can walk on stilts. I can pogo, and I can still do it. I can ice skate and I can roller skate. I'm actually quite a good roller skater.
I have trouble on roller skates, but I can roll a blade.
I could cross my legs on roller skates to turn and everything. I'm still quite good on my roller skates.
We could imagine you roller skating around, Brett. With the old music playing.
You'll need to unblock her then, Seago. It'll be on your own channel. You've accidentally blocked her. If you can't see Kel's comments, you'll have to go into your community list and unblock her. My aunt used to go bike runs on a red chopper with me, sitting holding onto the back, and my feet on. we used to tow each other on roller skate, and my favourite we used to do was called a catamaran with our skateboards, because we lived on an hill, and you'd sit on your skateboard with your mate, and you'd put your feet on his skateboard, and he'd put his feet on yours, so you made a catamaran, and you'd just go down the hill a lot. That was
God.
Yeah. I love stilts. I love stilts, cool. I can still use them now.
What I used to get involved with way back, when I was a kid, was soapbox derby, which was basically you make a go-kart out of some
Go-karts, yeah.
brambles and stuff.
I had a massive go-kart.
Yeah, we were big into that, and I was one of the big shops because my dad was a welder.
I also had, which I bought off a friend, a go-kart that was converted from a lawnmower engine, so it was petrol powered. I used to love that go-kart.
Oh God.
I have no idea what the nut bush is on your skates, Gay. I have no idea.
It's an Aussie. Oh, I think we do it here. I don't know if you guys know it. It's Nutbush City Limits by Tina Turner.
Yeah.
And we do this dance to it. It's called the Nutbush. Yeah.
Tara says, "Oh Lord, no, the stills. I would have killed myself." Yeah, my nephew had a pair when he was a kid, and I was showing off at them because none of them could use them apart from me. I used to love stilts.
Oh, I remember in high school we had these. It was like these circus people come to our school and bought all this stuff, and they bought stilts, and they were high stilts. Like I'm talking up to here on me.
Yeah.
And one of my friends put the stilts on, and she's walking, and they're like, "Oh, you got the hang of it now." So they let her go, and she went smack onto her face. Oh God.
Gay says the first job was also teaching children to skate. I love roller skating.
At the Rollerama.
I'd do it even now, even though it did me no good. I'd still love to go roller skating.
Yeah, I missed out on all that.
The one thing I've never done, I've done skiing. The one thing I've never done, which I would love to do, is snowboarding.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because I presume it's similar. It's a cross between skateboarding and skiing. Yeah, I always remember we were lucky as a kid for go-karts because a friend of my dad's worked in a pram factory, and he bought us back a big bag of spindles and pram wheels to build our go-karts out of, and I had a really fancy one with a brake on the side.
Oh God.
It's a really fancy one with a brake.
Would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad made my one, out of metal and that. But at the same time, I had my own wooden one because the part of the fun was actually making it yourself.
Yeah. All it was a big, but we used to use a big scaffolding plank, and then drill an hole through it, bolt a cross piece on it, put the spindle pram underneath it with the wheels on, and then build a box ranger up on the back.
That's right.
Then just put a wooden lever that pressed against the wheel as a brake.
So what happened if it broke?
Catapults. We used to make our own catapults and stuff. I was only born at the start of the 80s, Gay. Were you? 18?
Yeah. 1980. Nope, 1980. I was born.
Oh, good show me. You're only 41, aren't you?
Yeah.
I was literally born 18 days into the 70s. I missed the 60s by 18 days, thankfully. I was born in January 1970. I missed it by 18 days.
1970.
But Tara said, who was such a bitch? I'm going to have to scroll up for that. My dad used to race cars, then went to cars. So we had them growing up. My sister pissed me off. So I put sand in the gas tank of hers. And then she deserved it. Such a bitch. Still is a bitch, but I love her. It was, Joanne, making your own car was the best bit. I remember my first BMX.
Oh, Seago's the young one.
Kel was 1976. You're the same year as Jason, Kel. Jace was born in 76. I was born in 70. When were you born, Sam?
71.
Sitting there all quiet and not wanting to admit it.
I was born back in 1971.
Same year as my sister. Jackie was born in 1964. My eldest sister was born in 1966. She was the first one who passed away. Then my second eldest sister was born in 1967. She's still alive. Then my eldest brother was born in 68, I think. It was 68 or 69, and he passed away. Then I was born in 70. Then my youngest sister was born in 71. And then my youngest brother was born in 74, and he passed away as well.
Wow.
So I've got two brothers and a sister who died.
Sure.
When was Seago born?
1991.
Christ, Seago, you're only 3 years older than my son. He was born in 94.
Wow.
Yeah,
No
my
problem.
eldest.
You have a good night.
Night, Cal. My eldest sister was born, I believe, 72. Sure, it was 72, 73.
Yeah,
Can't even remember.
I'll take it. I don't feel it with my bad back though. Yeah, my shoulder's been playing me up the last few days. This wore off a bit the last few days, but I noticed tonight it was going a bit. I can feel it again a bit, but not as bad as it was the other night.
Still can't believe you haven't had that checked.
My kids were born 89, 90, 92, and 94. Yeah, Jack, my son, was born 94. Good year, 1967. That was the year my eldest surviving sister was born, was 67. I was born the day before Sam in 1972. That's Joanne.
Wow.
We're all old farts apart from Seago.
Yep,
Oh, well.
we are now.
Mm-hmm. Adopted here in 67, never met real blood family. Have you ever wanted to, Deborah?
Whose dog's that?
Mine.
I was going to say,
Oh, okay. Fifi.
Yeah, Sam and Joanne are April babies. You know, I was born in the heart of winter, as was my eldest sister.
Yeah. Oh, up the weekends.
Funnily enough, I think we were all pretty much born around. We were all born around the winter months. My youngest brother was December. My eldest sister, I believe, was December. Me and my other eldest sister are January. My youngest sister is October. So we were all born roughly, around about the same month-wise.
Yep.
And then Jay, when he was born, he was actually due on my sister's birthday on the 28th of January, and he was a lazy bugger and stayed there for an extra 3 weeks. And he was born February the 16th, and they had to induce him because I think he'd have still been in there now otherwise. So he is.
Yeah, my family was spread out. We were kind of anywhere from April to October.
I hate my birthday being in January because you get Christmas. I get Christmas, New Year, and my birthday all within a space of 3 weeks, and then nothing else to look forward to the rest of the year.
Aww.
I think that's what it was, Joanne. Both my kids are winter babies. Telly was rubbish in the spring when they were conceived. Yeah, I always think that about my mum and dad. Oh, Deborah says her parents are from over in England. She was adopted in Spain by Americans. Oh, wow. Oh, Deborah's a summer baby, July. Jace is a summer baby. He's June. Yeah, we all range between October and February, including Jay. Yeah, me and Julie have been talking a lot about our ancestry lately, and I keep saying I need to check back on my dad's side.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the only.
I need to check on my dad first.
You do. You have to get that done. It's a pity though that on Ancestry they don't let you trace your tree on other lines.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, Bon Scott. He was brilliant, Bon Scott.
Yeah, he was.
Mind you, I got to be honest, when they brought Brian Johnson in after he sounded exactly like him, you could hardly tell the difference.
Yeah.
They did a good match with him.
Fifi.
I was going to say something then, I forgot what it was.
I love that show, Brian Johnson, For the Love of Cars.
I've never watched it.
Yeah, Brian Johnson's big into cars.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
There was something I was going to say then, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
Was it to do with Bon Scott or someone?
No, but it was as I read the Bon Scott, it went totally out my head. It'll come back to me at some point. Oh, Fifi's for an appearance in tonight.
Yep. She's there. Fifi.
High five.
Indeed, brilliant album.
High five. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I nearly said.
Oh.
And I wouldn't have laughed.
I actually went to an ACD concert, and believe it or not, they started the concert by firing off cannons, so everybody was deaf by the time they started singing anyway.
Probably intentional, was it?
And apparently now they're brilliant, ACD.
Yeah.
Apparently when Angus Young joined him, he couldn't actually play the guitar, apparently.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny enough, my kids were into the old stuff that I was into. They're not into the new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I like
I wouldn't be into the stuff my parents listened to back,
Well,
Yeah.
my mom loved bloody country, and my mom had got weird taste. She loved country and western, and Elvis Presley. Now, her two favourite, she liked Patsy Cline, who I can stomach. She liked Dolly Parton, who I love, and she loved Tammy Wynette, who I cannot stand. The woman never sang a cheerful song her entire career. Everything was about divorce and misery. She liked ABBA, which I love, and she loved Elvis, who I can't stand. And then my dad liked Johnny Cash, who I like, but he also liked Elvis as well, who I can't stand. But my dad was when my dad was doing his national service, he was actually in Germany at the same time as Elvis. When Elvis was doing his, my dad actually met Elvis in Germany while he was doing his national service.
In the army?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They were stationed close together in Germany.
How crazy.
Yeah.
There was rumors that the DNA matched some homeless guy who died. I don't know. I think it was recently. They reckon this homeless guy was actually Elvis.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it was recently, but apparently some homeless guy died in under a bridge and his DNA matched with Elvis. Apparently.
Oh, Christ.
Wow.
Jay says she ate it. Seagull says Mal was always the better guitarist, in fairness. Angus has a specific sound and style, though he does. Jay says I hated what my parents liked, but my kids loved the 70s and 80s. I don't mind the Beatles. But my mum and dad hated the Beatles. They were all Elvis Presley, and I cannot stand Elvis Presley.
No.
What I call him the king of rock and roll, I do not know, because he sounded the same on everything he sung. The only reason he was famous because he wiggled his pelvis around a lot, and in the time he did it, it was considered very risque. They wouldn't, some of his performances, they wouldn't show him below his waist. That was why Elvis became famous.
I have a lovely black guitar and an amplifier and loads of pedals, and I never went into learning.
Yeah, my son's got a guitar. He can play it a bit. He can play the keyboard as well. And Jace can play the piano. He teaches piano sometimes. The only problem with Jace is he likes Tchaikovsky and that kind of shit. Not the stuff I like him to play. Elvis the Pelvis, lol. Yeah, that was why he was called Elvis the Pelvis.
Jace likes what?
Tchaikovsky and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I do like a bit of classical.
Playing classical, but I don't mind classical, but I'd like him to play other stuff.
Can he play Claire de Lune?
He can play anything. Even if he ain't got the music, he can work it out in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm a great fan of? Leshes Rowbottom. She plays the violin.
Yeah, she was on Britain's Got Talent. She was on.
Yeah, she's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, she's really posh. Leshes Rowbottom.
And Lindsay Sterling. I love Lindsay Sterling as well.
I like Jean-Michel Jarre. It goes back to my weed smoking days, though. Jean-Michel Jarre. AC/DC inspired me to play the guitar in the first place. Yeah, I love AC/DC.
I need to learn the guitar. I always wanted to learn it, and now that I'm getting older, I should do it before it's too late.
No, Joanne, his hearing's still exactly the same. He's way. I don't know what's going on with his hearing aids, because I questioned him about them the other day, because I think he's taking a long time to get these hearing aids fitted. He's saying he's got to wait for them, but I think he's trying not to go back for them. It's a bit of a bone of contention at the moment, because he seems to think ignoring it, and it'll get better, and it won't. I don't think he wants to wear hearing aids, but he's going to have to, whether he likes it or not.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
We've actually worn hearing aids on Paranormal Investigations, actually.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Joanne.
Did it help?
Yeah. The only thing is it sometimes played up with the voice recorders. It used to hear some feedback sometimes.
Okay.
Held a recorder right up to it, and that you get this ringing in your ear, and you go, because we turn it up until it's really, really sensitive, and you could just hear a mouse part,
Wow.
Tony says, my mum loves. Seagull says it's never too late to learn to play the guitar. I wouldn't mind. I've got a keyboard upstairs. Jay started to teach me, and I really need to start doing it again, because I actually enjoyed it. Tony says, my mum loved country and western. I don't mind country and western. I just don't like miserable country and western. Tammy Wynette, I cannot stand her. The woman never wrote a single cheerful song. Everything was about the misery of life. Honestly, it was though, Sam. Everything she wrote is misery. Everything. Tony says, my mum loved country and western, and my dad liked Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra. I ain't a big fan of Tony Bennett, and I cannot stomach Frank Sinatra. Sorry. Cannot stomach the bloke. Yeah, his daughter weren't too bad. Nancy, was it Nancy who sung These Boots Are Made for Walking? That's all right.
Mm.
Well, if nothing else, it keeps your joints supple, Julie. Learning to play.
Playing the guitar, does it?
Yeah, keeps your hands supple, yeah.
I'd like to at least give it a go. Actually, Charlotte took an interest in learning the guitar as well, so do that at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can turn it into a bit of a competition of who gets better faster.
Yeah. Teach you to push yourself.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says Dad also, I cannot stand Frank Sinatra. I know he was really popular in his time, but I really just don't like that style of music. And I don't like jazz either. I think jazz is, I always call jazz suicide music and rhythm and blues.
One of my favorite pieces of electric guitar was "Hey Joe" by Papa Chubby. Who was his name?
Mm-hmm.
A big, massive guy, but Jesus, he can play.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I spoke to Jay the other day. Apparently, he's just bought himself a drum kit. Now he's Julie's brother, who passed away a couple of years ago. He was a drummer. He used to drum with a couple of well-known rock bands over here, and he passed away. They found him dead in his flat the one day, and they've never worked out what it was. They don't know what caused it. They think he just, he passed out and banged his head or something. They just don't know. But Jay said the other day he's going to start learning drums because I can always remember when Jay was born. Julie's brother Darren always said he wanted to learn him the drums when he grew up. So he said, says he's going to do it in his memory now. So I hope he sticks with it.
We have a big, massive history. Back when I was at school, that nearly every garage in the town was a little what do you call a studio for bands.
Yeah,
it goes back to Rory Gallagher and all that, But there was a lot of bands back then,
Yeah, he says me too, Brett. I'll see you go. Your friend did nail jazz. He called it three people playing three different songs at the same time. That's bang on. I cannot stand jazz. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. And I'm a big rock fan, but I was never overly fond of glam rock. I was never really big into the glam rock. I never understood, the obsession with Kiss and that kind of thing. The only glam rock I really liked was Twisted Sister, and that was because they were taking the piss out of it, basically.
Yeah, I was born in the same hospital as Rory Gallagher, actually.
You were?
I never heard any of his music, though. I must look up some of his music because I never heard a single song.
Mm-hmm.
The
80s was a good time for all bands.
I love the 80s.
Yeah, and me.
Best music.
I love Alice Cooper. Yeah, I like Alice Cooper. But there's very little of the glam rock I actually like. I can stomach T-Rex up to a point. There's certain songs of T-Rex I like, but I was never really big on T-Rex either. I was more into thrash and death metal. I was more into Sepultura and Stormtroopers of Death and that kind of stuff.
Tony Ash was a garage music. No, it was the bands were basically rock music. They were rock music. It's just that everybody's garage was used for practice.
In that age, they were doing two things in garages. They were either learning music or building bombs, one or the other.
Oh yeah,
weren't it, Sam?
That
era of Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Mind you, I suppose if you think about it, everybody always claims their era was the golden age of music. But for me, it was definitely the 80s and the 90s.
A lot of people say the 80s. The 80s just kind of changed the music scene altogether.
The thing was, the 80s was a really weird time for music because there was a lot of distinct types rather than just one type of music, which like in the 70s, it was all hippified. The 80s totally changed. And then you've got like punk and ska and that lot all came into its own big time. It over from the 70s. But then you'd also got the new romantics, and then you'd got like the Duran Duran electric pop type. There was like three distinct types, and that was what made the 80s so special. There was three different types of music all running side by side. Because I was big into ska in the 80s, and then as I went into the 90s, I shifted majorly into rock. Yeah. The only Irish band I know is Flogging Molly's, lol.
There's a band called Boxty, and actually, I was in school with the lead guitarist and lead singer. And it turned out that we were second cousins.
Mhm.
And we didn't know that. We didn't know that until we started talking a little bit more. But an absolute legend of a guitarist.
But surely you've got to have heard of U2. Flogging Molly's cannot be the only Irish band you know, Tony. You've got to have heard of U2.
Simple Minds. Is Simple Minds Belfast? Or Scottish? Or Scottish?
I love Jean-Michel Jarre from the 80s and 90s as they moved into the 90s with the electric synthesizer music. I
Yeah.
absolutely love Jean-Michel Jarre. I've got a real wide taste in music because mine varies literally from classic right the way up to thrash and death metal. Like I say, the only two types of music styles I really do not like is jazz and like blues. I just find them just totally depressing. The pair of them.
My son was into Scooter when he was 5. He used to say, "Play Scooter, Scooter." He used to say, "Scooter, Scooter, yeah."
I like some of the old style rock like Eminem. I ain't so keen on the new stuff. I think the new stuff's shite.
Yeah.
Eminem, I used to love Eminem. And then you got what's his name? Bob Geldof. What was his band called?
Bob Geldof.
Oh God, what was his band called? Sam?
Boomtown Rats.
Boomtown Rats.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the bands around my area were based on the Boomtown Rats.
Yeah,
They used to cover their songs.
I love that song. It's based on a bloody school, with the original school shooter in it. That's what it's actually about. Did you know that?
Sorry.
Did you know the song "I Don't Like Mondays" is based around the original school shooter?
Yeah.
When they arrested her, and they said, "Why did you do it?" She said, "Because I don't like Mondays."
Yeah, yeah. I remember school concerts. The bands used to play them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joan says she thinks it's Belfast. Talking about Scottish guys, can you remember the Proclaimers?
Yeah.
Oh God, yes. I will walk.
My nephew used to love that song. I would walk 500 miles, and we used to have to play it over and over and over while he marched up and down the living room. And my son was absolutely bonkers on Bloody Blue. And thankfully, I still like the song. You know that I'm blue, dabba dee, dabba die, or dabba dee. Jay as a toddler.
Oh God.
Yeah, you two are Irish.
Yeah, me and I was on a course, and I stayed in Dublin for a while, and myself and a friend. Well, actually, it was more my friend than me, but I gave him a push up. We wanted to climb in and see Bono's garden.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he did discover that he also had an Alsatian dog.
Oh God.
The lady from the Cranberries is from Ireland. Is that did they sing Zombie?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Zombie.
No, she had talent.
Yeah. She died, didn't she? She's dead now.
Yeah. And then you've got
Sadly.
Sinead O'Connor, who's just turned totally bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Apparently,
she's just gone totally loopy.
Is she broke now? Is she living in homeless accommodation, or is that just a rumor?
She's turned to Islam now, and she's an Islamic activist.
Right.
Learning Sweet Child of Mine. See, I loved old school Metallica. I like the new stuff, the Black Album and stuff, but I love the old style Metallica and Justice for All, and all that lot. When they were still true thrash band then. I actually like November Rain. Is my favourite Guns N' Roses. I like Sweet Child of Mine, but I love November Rain.
Yeah, it's
I
probably
like
one of mine.
I like November Rain, but I actually get very emotional for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an emotional song.
Yeah.
I like the Cranberries.
Oh yeah.
She was the lead singer of the Cranberries. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite frightening now, because a lot of the people who I used to listen to and watch on programs, that you start to hear that they're starting to pass away now, and it makes you think, God, these are people I grew up with, and suddenly them all starting to go, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Makes you more aware of your mortality.
Certainly does.
Yeah.
It certainly does.
Hmm.
Like I said last week, if I go first, I'm coming back to. I don't care whether it's breaking the rules or not. I'm coming back to give you proof that it goes on.
I did the same.
You'll be in the shower having a shower, Julie, and all of a sudden you'll hear, "I'm Henry VIII, I am Henry VIII, I am."
Get out.
Yeah, I'm going to want people's showers.
Yeah. I'll probably pick you up. I'll probably pick you up on the spare parts. You know one word I'd be looking for? The what's it? That's
The what?
one word. The what's it?
Yeah.
That's the word that you. That's a kind of a comfort word that you kind of use when you're trying to think of what to say next. Is the what's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The what?
It's a word that nobody else uses. I'm just going to look out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my dad said to me the other day, he goes, he was telling me about something, and I turned around and I'm like, yep, absolutely. And he goes, you say that all the time. Everything. Absolutely.
Joanne, when my gran used to hear of someone famous had died, I'd always ask, who's that? Now my kids say that to me, lol. I'm getting old. I know the feeling, Joanne.
Yeah.
I actually said something to somebody the other day, had passed away, and Jay said to me, who's that? I'm like, oh my God. There's a lot of them gone recently, David Bowie and that. A lot of the big names are starting to go. Will you shut up, please? Thank you. Doing your Desmond impression behind me. Oh, it's because Kaya's sitting here, that's why. I like Stevie Nicks.
Oh yeah, me too.
I do like Stevie Nicks.
A lot of people don't like her, and I don't know why, because I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
Very distinctive voice.
Yeah.
Okay, Tara, no problem. I honestly thought Lemmy was going to live forever, and me, Seago. And me. A lot of, yeah, they have. They have. And I suppose as you get older, you notice it more. Oh, I can't stand Fleetwood Mac. Sorry, Tara. I think as you get older and it's people you used to listen to yourself, it does start to bring it home to you a bit. I'm getting to the latter side of my life cycle.
Yeah.
Do you know the funny thing about Fleetwood Mac is that there were two couples and they had fallen out and they ended up writing songs sort of dissing each other.
ABBA was that, if you think about it, towards the end, you could tell that ABBA was singing about how they hated each other and couldn't wait to get divorced. It was blatant in the songs. The longer it went on, the more they started singing about getting divorced and, love not working out and stuff. And it was inevitable. It was absolutely inevitable. My favorite group of all time, Queen. I got to be honest. That's what I want played. I actually want two Queen songs played at my funeral. I want Another One Bites the Dust as they bring my coffin in for the laugh value.
Oh God.
And then I want, when they lower me into the fire, I want Who Wants to Live Forever. And then the other one I want played is Immortality by the Bee Gees.
I love the Bee Gees.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really weird because I used to go, when me and Julie J's mom first got together, we used to go to a rock pub every weekend, drinking. And they actually had a mock-up poster on the wall that said Freddie Mercury dies of AIDS. And this was before he actually died of AIDS, before he'd even announced he'd got it. It was really freaky, that was. They'd got a mock-up of the front of an headline on a newspaper in a big picture frame. It was a big mock-up, and it says Freddie Mercury dies of AIDS, and then he did. It was so prophetic, that poster.
I used to be a big fan of Europe, but none of my friends, they never got much attention, with the people I knew, and people thought I was weird that I liked Europe, the rock band,
I like Europe.
Yeah.
I've got a soft spot for Europe because it was that was the first song when I turned 21 that they played in the pub when I first went in.
Yeah.
I went out for a party with my mates, and that was the first one they played for me was the Final Countdown.
I had a couple of good songs.
It was a great song by Queen. Yeah, a lot of the songs he did then. Joanne was when he knew he was on his way out, and they were about his time coming to an end. I absolutely love him singing Barcelona with Montserrat. I absolutely love that song.
I like the show must go on. I actually sang it for you one day.
Yeah.
I remember I came on the street. Oh, show must go on. I'm not going to sing it here because my singing is terrible.
There is only one. I can honestly say, Queen are the only band where there is only one song of theirs I cannot stand. Every other song of theirs I love, and the one I cannot stand by them is "Crazy Little Thing Called Love," because it's like old styles. It sounds like the 50s. I hate that song.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it. Yeah, I absolutely love every other Queen song.
I also like the Pet Shop Boys, Aha, Madonna, the whole lot. I used to get bullied at school because I like all those.
People, whenever it says to me, name a song to describe you, I always say it's The Sin by the Pet Shop Boys, because that sums up how I've lived my life. Literally, I've always said that.
Well, apparently, one of my review videos where I was reviewing an EMF detector, I got an EVP. You're a sinner. I wasn't even doing ITC. I was reviewing a piece of equipment. Somebody copped it on the other day, actually, and I must take that segment out. It's pretty interesting.
Somebody called sinner.
It either says you're a sinner or you sinner.
I've got to be honest. I've never been called anything like that on a spirit box. I've been called to see you next Tuesday.
I've been called.
I've been called an F and a W, but I've never actually been called a sinner or a devil worshipper or anything like that. Well, I have by people, live people, but never by anybody dead.
I don't think I have.
The only thing is, when a swear word comes out of the spirit box, it doesn't automatically mean that they're calling you a see you next Tuesday. That's the only thing. But the time I got fat see you next Tuesday, I'm a bit heavy. I don't know if I'm a see you next Tuesday, but it kind of was a little bit fitting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He agrees with me.
Yeah. Joanne says one of the Queen concerts was on TV over Christmas. It was from the 70s, and blow-up dolls were getting thrown around. Well, Freddie used to encourage stuff like that. Freddie used to have some very wild private parties, if you know what I mean. Very wild. If you look at some of his last videos, where he's like the one where he's riding out the bobbies in the tight lycra, Well, apparently they were reenacting some of his real life parties from before then,
You should see some of the
minus the lycra.
you should see some of the videos from concerts of Marilyn Manson. Some of the things he used to get up to.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like when Ozzy bit the head off the bat. He didn't actually realise that was a live bat. Somebody had swapped the stage prop for a live bat. He wasn't planning on biting the head off a live bat. It was supposed to be a stage prop, and they swapped it.
Ozzy's last song was pretty good. I don't know if he's made any recently, but there was one that he done. Was it last year or the year before? It was pretty good. Can't even remember the name of it now.
The one I love about I ain't a big fan of Black Sabbath, but I love Ozzy singing Changes, and I love the version he re-released with his daughter Kelly when they changed the lyrics to it, and it was him and Kelly singing it. It was absolutely brilliant. Changes.
That was a good song. Yeah.
Yeah.
They risked him away to get a rabies shot.
Yeah, they did. But yeah, it was meant to be. It was meant to be a stage prop, and one of his roadies thought it'd be funny to swap it for a real one.
Oh my god!
Welcome back, Sega.
Welcome back.
See, I find it funny that Brian May got with Anita Dobson out of EastEnders because they look identical when they stand side by side with the hair. I love Alice Cooper. The two favourites of his I love House of Fire and I love Poison. Of the two, House of Fire is my favourite one. I love Twisted Sister as well because they're just a piss take on glam rock.
I like that song. I can never remember the name of it, but you know, in the video clip, they've got the kid and his mum's going, "Sweet Waldo," and she's like, you know, parting his hair down. "Now you be good at school today," and she puts him on the school bus. Do you remember that song, that video clip?
I remember.
Oh, was it Twisted Sister?
Was it We're Not Gonna Take It? Is it the one where his dad tries to stop him playing? And
Oh, it's not Twisted Sister. No, it's Hot for Teacher by freaking, who sang Hot for Teacher? The one that sang California Girls.
Van Halen.
Van Halen, thank you.
Ain't he dead now? He's died now, hasn't he?
Yeah, only recently too.
Yeah.
I like Killer of Giants. It's amazing when you get talking about music, the songs you remember, you used to listen to all the while.
Yeah.
And I always used to laugh when, my mum and dad, when I got to be honest, my dad got into Queen. When I started listening to Queen, my dad really liked Queen. He got into Queen. But, he used to say, "Oh, what's this rubbish you're listening to now?" And I used to think, "Oh, get with the times." And now some of the stuff they play nowadays, I sit and I think, who listens to this rubbish? And then I think, shit, I start to sound like my parents.
Yeah, I mean, I can miss the raw talent of the bands and stuff.
Mm-hmm. See, this is the problem with it now. That back in the 80s and 90s, they clawed the way up. Nowadays, they're just media produced, and they never last. They never last.
Sure, you can make a single up on your house nowadays with all the equipment that's available. That's what it is. It's just mixing stuff. Back in the day, it was real instruments.
Well, a lot of it now, they don't even bother with lyrics. They just, say the first few same words over and over constantly.
Yeah, I remember back. I had Boxty out one night at a concert with equipment and that, and just the amount of equipment, that was used in the concert, like unbelievable. Speakers, amplifiers, You know, sound mixers, you know, guitars, all the rest of the equipment. It was a big, massive Mercedes van, and it was crammed with stuff, you know.
I'll be back.
How'd you go? Yeah, a lot of the music today it's very repetitive, and it's very similar sounding.
Yeah, I mean, like I have a friend in Belfast.
Out there now who are original.
Yeah, I have a friend in Belfast, and she's got a big, massive sound studio. If I ever get in trouble with EVPs, she can look through them and stuff like that. But she takes bits and pieces of songs and mixes them up and stuff, makes her own stuff. A lot of people are doing that, you know, at home, and that's what seems to be going out a lot of the time in the clubs and stuff. You know, rather than the raw talent of you know, real singers and real musicians. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I used to like a lot. There is some modern stuff, like, you know, some of the recent stuff I do like, but a lot of it is just they seem to copy one another.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about, you know, really distinctive voices recently, will you be quiet? You've only got people like Adele. There's very few people who you could say, you know, when you hear them, you can distinctively tell it's their style, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think Adele, did she stop singing because of a problem with her voice or something?
I think so, but Adele's always been funny anyway. She's very sporadic in what she releases. She goes years between releasing albums. Look at Joanne B has got 32,000 points. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I didn't realise the game was on.
It's always on. Never off.
Oh. I was a big fan of Dire Straits as well. You know.
Couldn't stand Dire Straits, Sam. I couldn't abide them.
Oh, I love the guitar music, you know, Mark Knopfler. You know.
I like Pink Floyd. Their Dark Side of the Moon album, brilliant.
Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. I think they have don't quote me on this, but do you know the experiment I done a demonstration of how to see sound?
Mm-hmm.
I'm nearly sure it was that album that if you put it through that piece of software, you'll pick up pentagrams and stuff on it. You
really?
know, visuals, yeah. I think it's that album, but don't quote me on it.
I know back in the vinyl days, it was popular for a lot of the rock groups to deliberately embed reverse sound into the song, so that when people reverse the records, it would say all sorts of weird and wonderful things. That was done deliberately.
Yeah, I remember that song. I can't remember what it was now. You know, when it was reversed backwards, "My Sweet Satan."
Yeah, there was loads of the.
Can't remember the song though. Yeah, but there's visuals in some. There was some albums where if you put it through analysis and see the sound, you'll see messages actually made in the sound itself, visual messages.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that song, the one that put the message in, and they did that deliberately because people were saying there were hidden messages in, so they deliberately put one in, didn't they?
Yeah. There was a couple. Yeah, no worry, Tara. I'm closing it down shortly anyway. You know, we've been going nearly 3 hours, believe it or not.
See you, Tara.
You have a good night, Tara, or day.
See you, Tara.
Ronald McDonald.
I prefer Ronald McDonald. He does Big Mac. I don't like the fact he's a clown, but I do like, you know, I've got to be honest, I've got a weakness for McDonald's. I swear they put marijuana in the special sauce of the Big Macs that makes them addictive. I swear to God.
I like the fries when they're fresh.
Yeah.
They make good fries.
Mm-hmm. I was reading somewhere the other day, and I can't remember where it was, somewhere over here. One of the McDonald's restaurants is haunted. They're having problems in one of the McDonald's with pretty much like a really disruptive spirit throwing things around in the restaurant and doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I'll have to try and find the article again.
It's probably a ghost of a cow.
Probably.
Yeah.
The cow from the house? No. From Sam's house.
He's selling noodle.
Oh,
Okay, I don't care what's it. I don't care what's in it, Gate. I just love their secret sauce on Big Macs. I'm very tempted to go and work for McDonald's just to steal a jar of their secret sauce and then leave.
I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but my sister's, one of her old boyfriends when she was younger, worked at McDonald's, and they're only allowed to leave the burgers and things that they make in the hot bay for so long, and then they have to throw them out. So if you work there, you can like take the food if it's going to be thrown out.
Yeah. We had a big war over here about 10 years ago. There was two friends who basically, one worked at Pizza Hut and one worked at McDonald's, and I didn't realise they're allowed like a meal for the dinner if they work through the dinner period, and they swapped lunches, and McDonald's and Pizza Hut sacked them, and there was a big war over it because they'd swapped the lunches over.
Oh,
It was pathetic.
it was.
Absolutely pathetic. So what are we planning on the streams late for next week then? Do you know what you're doing at the moment, Sam? Are you doing a coffee morning on Thursday?
I am, yes.
Okay. So Sam will be doing a coffee morning on Thursday at 11 o'clock our time. In the morning, that is, not the night. So it'll be round about 8 o'clock for people on the east coast of Australia, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Julie's doing the beginner's guide to pole dancing on Saturday. Yeah.
You wish. I'll think of something. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. Yeah.
And then obviously we're doing another one next Friday, same time as we normally do. I ain't thought of the topic yet, but I might think up a couple more psychic tests, and we can do a couple of psychic tests if you want. I'll think some more.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We'll do a bit more psychic testing and see if we can do various things. Should be interesting.
Before next Thursday, I'm actually on the 4th of July. I'm going to the Ulster American Folk Park where there's reenactments and stuff like that.
Well, that should be interesting.
Yeah, so I haven't been there in 2 years. So we're going there on the 4th of July, which is Sunday. So,
okay.
And I will be filming.
Right, so it looks like we're doing the same schedule as last week, guys. So Sam will be live on at 11 o'clock Thursday morning. I'll be live at 9:15 Friday night. These are UK times, by the way. And Julie will be alive. Julie will be live.
Oh.
11 a.m. Saturday morning for us, but I believe it's 8 o'clock Friday evening for you Aussies, I believe. So there you go. So I'd like to say thank you to you all again for coming in. It was nice to have a chat again, and we covered paranormal and music, which is unusual.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, and we will see you on Thursday on Sam's Coffee Morning, if you can make it, please. And if not, you'll see me on Friday or on Julie's on Saturday. So thanks to Julie and thanks to Sam for being on the panel as usual. Much appreciated. Thanks to all for your input. And we'll see you all again Friday. Have a good day, night, and stay safe, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.